Upon entering a Cultivation novel game, I became an NPC in the starter village. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 126 Newcomer. Yunxi looked at the two apprentices. Their expressions were a little stiff, and they looked like they had eaten a fly. She was a little surprised. What? Are you not on good terms? Of course not, haha, I'm just too surprised. The two laughed dryly and replied at the same time. Seeing their strange looks, Yunxi still didn't say anything. It was enough to just get along on the surface. After all, even if she forced the two to get along well, they would probably find it difficult to do so. With the help of this pair of brothers and sisters, Yunxi didn't need to keep an eye on Chuyan all the time to teach her, and she resumed her monster-killing career. Of course, her excuse was still to find inspiration, or to find ingredients herself. These days, she was not like before, working day and night. She only went to the underground dungeon every 1 or 2 days, and the rest of the time she would brush various skill proficiency, such as piano, chess, calligraphy and painting, just to relax. That evening, Yunxi finished killing the last monster, sorted out the things in the space, sat down and drank a glass of water, and then dusted herself off and went home. At this time, the two apprentices should have prepared dinner. I wonder what to eat tonight? She walked towards home with great expectations. However, when she passed by the waterfall, she saw a person lying quietly on the ground from a distance. Yunxi paused. This scene seems familiar. That's right. Wasn't it the same when the disciples fell? Fortunately, this person was not covered in black, so he didn't look scary. She carefully gripped the bow and arrow, slowly approached, and used the detection technique at the same time. The person lying on the ground was a male player, level 69, wearing an indigo-colored dress. He looked tall and thin, but through the tattered clothes, you could clearly see his 8-pack abs, which were strong and powerful. Yunxi retracted her weapon, carefully helped the man up, and shook him gently. Hello? Are you okay? Can you hear me? However, the response to her was silence. On the man's angular face, his eyebrows were slightly wrinkled, his narrow eyes were closed, his thin lips were tightly pursed, his face was a little pale due to blood loss, and he looked a little painful. She made a simple inspection and found that the most serious wounds on his body were basically on his chest and abdomen. There were many small wounds on his hands and feet, but they were not very serious and could be cured with some golden wound medicine. After thinking about it, she still did not use the blood recovery medicine on this person. A man is innocent but guilty of holding a treasure. What if this person wakes up and finds that he has recovered quickly, suspects that there is a problem, and wants to kill her? Wouldn't that cause trouble for herself? On the forum, she saw that many players would kill the NPC if they found that the NPC had certain skills. Because there is a chance to obtain skills. It would be fine if she didn't know it before, but now that she knows, she will naturally not use this skill everywhere. While thinking, Yunxi cleaned his wounds and sprinkled golden wound medicine on him. After stopping the bleeding, she carried him back to the house. In the house, two apprentices were sitting in the dining room. The soup and rice had been scooped out, waiting for people to come back to eat. They sat for a while and heard a noise outside the door. The two immediately raised a smile and greeted him, but what they saw was that the master was carrying a man to his room. The two were shocked. Wait, who is he? Why did you bring him into the room? Shen-san was startled and subconsciously stopped her, and at the same time wanted to reach out and carry the man on his back. Master, it's too dangerous. Let senior brother carry him. Jiuyan also frowned. Yunxi let go of her hand and wiped the sweat off her face. This is the person I picked up at the bottom of the waterfall. He must have accidentally fallen from above. I saw him when I passed by, so I brought him back. Shen-san, why don't you move him to my room? After all, I'm a man, so it's easier for me to take care of him. After saying that, he moved the man to his room, locked the door, and made a lot of noise in the room. When he opened the door, he saw that the man had changed into clean clothes and was lying quietly on the bed, looking pale. A faint fragrance came to his nose. The person on the bed sniffed and slowly opened his eyes. He sat up with his swollen forehead and scanned the surroundings. Soft gray sheets, a simple and sturdy wooden bed, a vase with blooming flowers on a small wooden cabinet, and a tablecloth on the small table. which looks very comfortable. Luo Mingai raised his eyebrows secretly. Looking at the arrangement, could it be that he fell off the waterfall and was rescued by a woman? Yes, with his invincible face, which woman would have the heart to leave him on the ground and watch him die without saving him? Thinking of this, his tense muscles completely relaxed, and he slowly got out of bed and opened the door. After opening the door, the fragrance became more tempting. Smelling this smell, he subconsciously touched his slightly deflated belly. "Are you awake?" A soft voice came with a hint of smile. "How do you feel? Your injuries are not fully healed yet, so you'd better be careful with your movements." Luo Mingai turned his head and saw a girl looking at him with a smile, with a hint of concern in her eyes. Although the girl was in the backlight, her skin was white and translucent. Her thick long hair was tied up by a hairpin, revealing her snow-white and slender neck. Her bright almond eyes looked at him from under her willow-shaped eyebrows. Her small nose and cherry lips made her look beautiful and cute. He subconsciously forced a smile. "Did you save me?" "Thank you, you are such a beautiful and kind girl. I don't know how to repay you." She blinked and the corners of her lips unconsciously curled up. "Although I brought you back, it was Shen-san who took care of you these days. If you want to thank someone, you should thank him." Shen-san, the name sounded familiar. "Yes, he is cooking in the kitchen now. Just when you woke up, sit down and taste it." The girl pulled out a chair and invited him to taste the food on the table with a smile. Luo Mingai then noticed that the source of the fragrance was the food on the table. It was so fragrant. With a smell, he dared to say that Shen-san must be a life player. He subconsciously picked up the chopsticks, and when he was about to pick up the food, he suddenly realized something and retracted his hand that had been suspended in the air. "Madam, I almost forgot to ask your name. I don't even know the name of my savior." "How rude." "Me? I'm Lu Yunxi. What about you, Lu Yunxi?" Hearing this familiar name, Luo Mingai's eyes flashed with surprise, and then quickly covered it up, leaving only an admiring smile. "It's really a good name. It sounds like a painting, beautiful and comfortable, very suitable for you." He lowered his eyes and recalled carefully. He seemed to have heard someone mention the name Lu Yunxi. Where was it? Just as he lowered his head to think, a sleepy girl walked in from outside. Qian really didn't expect it. The pot in the kitchen was actually smashed by her. They had to come to Shen-san's place to eat these days. The hateful thing is that now there is no material to repair the pot. She sighed secretly, sat down, turned her head and was startled. The man that the master saved actually woke up. "You woke up?" Qian asked politely. However, Luo Mingai was a little surprised. It was Qian. He had seen the daughter of the Qiu family at the banquet. Although she was a decent person, she was willful and spoiled. How could she? However, before he could figure it out, he saw a familiar man walking over with dishes. Luo Mingai was shocked. It was the third son of the Fu family. Although he changed his appearance, the change was not big, and people who saw him more often could still recognize him. However, the third son of the Fu family actually stood with Chu Yan. "I seem to have heard that they didn't have a good relationship before. Did I remember it wrong?" Luo Mingai was in a trance for a while, and then he smiled and said, "By the way, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Luo Mingai, a combat player. If you are in danger, you can always ask me to protect you." Shen-san and Chu Yan heard this familiar name, paused at the same time, and looked up at him. However, Luo Mingai's face was completely different from his face in reality. Is it a coincidence? Lu Yunxi smiled, glanced at the mask on Luo Mingai's face that had no trace of it, and asked casually, "Your mask is very nice, where did you buy it?" Chapter 127 Another Visitor. "I'm a combat player. If you're in danger, you can always ask me to protect you." Luo Mingai's voice was low, and there was always a sense of tenderness when he spoke, like a hook that made people feel itchy. However, no one present noticed his voice that could make people pregnant. Lu Yunxi's body stiffened. Combat player. Damn. She is an NPC now. Hearing such a word should play dumb. As long as she pretends not to understand what a player is, there is no need to think too much. After thinking for a second, Lu Yunxi showed a blank expression and changed the subject. "The mask on your face is nice." Hearing this, Shen-san and Chu Yan turned their heads to look at Luo Mingai. The two had guesses in their hearts. It seems that this may really be the person they know. Chu Yan and Shen-san did not notice the word combat player, but only noticed the mask on Luo Mingai's face. They looked carefully, but still couldn't see any mask. Luo Mingai didn't answer, but just smiled. Ms. Lu has good eyesight. After that, he repeated, you saved my life. If you are in danger in the future, you can call me to protect you. Shen San's smile did not reach his eyes. Thank you for your kindness, no need to worry, he confirmed. This must be the person he knew. This tone sounds unpleasant. Who are you looking down on? If they really fight, this kid may not be able to beat him. Qiu Yan's expression is also a little weird. Luo Mingai was weak when he was a child, but now he dares to speak. Luo Mingai secretly raised his eyebrows. Lu Yunxi ate seriously, completely ignoring the reactions of the three of them. After Shen San came, there was always something weird between him and Qiu Yan. For example, Master, this is the cold mixed black fungus and cucumber I made, and watermelon juice. These are what I made to be refreshing in summer. What's the point of eating fatty and greasy food, Master? Try the Duompo pork I made. It's not greasy at all. Without meat, can it be considered a meal? Master, look at the wreath I wove for you. Wear it on your head and you'll look like a princess. Master, I made flower juice for you to dye your nails. There are bright red, peach red, and tomato color. Which one do you think looks better? Lu Yunxi, sandwiched between two apprentices, she felt helpless. It is said that only people can make the world, and after having an additional apprentice, their desire to win also came. Whether it was bringing her water to soak her feet or cooking. There was no thing without competition. Retracting his thoughts, Lu Yunxi chewed slowly. Seeing this, Luo Mingai also lowered his head and casually picked up a dumpling. However, as soon as he put it in his mouth, he was stunned. This taste. He was not short of money at all. Whether in reality or in the game, he had eaten a lot of delicious food, but none of them could do it to this extent. It's really delicious. After taking a bite, he sped up his eating speed until his belly was slightly bulging, and then he stopped eating with satisfaction. The four of them finished their breakfast in a quiet and somewhat weird atmosphere. After the meal, Qiu Yan and Shen San took Luo Mingai around here, explained the conditions for leaving here, and took him to find a place to live. After all, he was awake, so it was not good to live in Shen San's house. I want to live in the house closest to you, because I can't cook. From now on, I will prepare the ingredients for several of us every morning, let brother Shen San cook, and I will wash the dishes after dinner. How about it? After eating the meal made by Shen San, of course he didn't want to eat the meal he made. You know, he has never learned cooking. Shen San twitched his eyes. This brother came too suddenly, but in the end, Lu Yunxi agreed to let him come here to eat. Although she didn't ask, she was not a fool. Qiu Yan needed allies to help, and Shen San also needed money. What's more, looking at their appearance, it seems that they know each other in the real world. Even if they are not familiar with each other at the beginning, won't they become familiar with each other over time? When the two apprentices are in trouble, it would be good if Luo Mingai can help them. Even if he is not willing to help, the two apprentices also need to practice cooking. No matter what, it is not a loss. The two apprentices were completely unaware of Lu Yunxi's worry. After she agreed to let him come over for dinner, they couldn't help but feel a little depressed. When soaking feet that night, Shen San and Qiu Yan came again. Master, I added a little rose petals to the footbath water today. It has a little fragrance. I wonder if you like it. Master, I added some mugwort to the footbath water. Didn't you say that it can remove moisture? Lu Yunxi, all are good, I like them all. The senior brother and sister looked at each other, with sparks in their eyes. She twitched her eyes, put one foot in the rose pot and the other foot in the mugwort pot. Master, why did you agree to let Luo Mingai come over? Do you like him? Qiu Yan suddenly asked. What? Lu Yunxi was stunned. Do you like him very much? Shen San also frowned, a little worried. This pair of senior brothers and sisters had a rare tacit understanding. They absolutely did not want to call Luo Mingai the master. It would be fine if the master was an NPC, but Luo Mingai, Luo Mingai, Lu Yunxi was confused for a while, and then laughed. Why do you suddenly ask this? He is not a bad person, but I don't like him either. Master, be careful when looking for a husband. Luo Mingai is a smooth-talking guy with a playboy personality. He is not a good choice for playing around in the world, Qiu Yan advised. Lu Yunxi twitched her eyes. Don't worry, I don't plan to get married. But he has given me money, aren't you short of money? When did I short of money? Shen San and Qiu Yan paused at the same time, wondering if they had lied and forgot it. Lu Yunxi actually said it casually, and was too lazy to explain it so clearly. Both parties changed the topic at the same time and chatted for a few more words. Shen-san and Chu Yan suddenly became alert. They found that Luo Mingai had suddenly become a different person. When he was just rescued, he was smooth-talking but always kept a polite distance from Yunxi. But now, "Look at me, I'm going to see the master," Chu Yan said. She sorted out the firewood, hurried to the window, and secretly looked inside. Luo Mingai leaned close to Yunxi's ear, saying something to her, which made her giggle. The distance between the two of them had obviously exceeded the distance between ordinary friends, and they were only a few centimeters away from being close together. Chu Yan gritted her teeth secretly. Damn it! Luo Mingai wanted to use the tricks he used on the outsiders on the master. Is the master someone he can disrespect? No. She had to tell Shen-san. Protect the master. The disciple has the responsibility. On the other side, Lu Yunxi, who had already noticed Chu Yan's arrival, kept smiling, and her face was normal. There was no way. She was on the verge of a car overturn, so she could only pay attention to her expression management at all times, so as not to let people find out that something was wrong. Luo Mingai is such a trouble. Now she really regretted asking him to come here for dinner. He seemed to have thought he was a player, but now he realized he was an NPC. After he found out about this, he came to test her these days. With Luo Mingai in front and two apprentices behind, she had to pretend to be an NPC all the time to prevent them from finding anything unusual. It was really troublesome. Luo Mingai did find out that Ms. Lu was an NPC, but he didn't think much about it. He just thought that he would be automatically blocked when he talked about things outside. The reason why he came to Ms. Lu was indeed to capture her. After eating Shen-san's meal, he was shocked. But after eating the meal made by Ms. Lu, 100 Shen-sans can't compare to one Ms. Lu. Since Ms. Lu is a group data, he naturally has no worries and wants to try to see if he can get the beauty. In this way, he no longer needs to find Shen-san and Chu Yan to eat delicious food. You know, he doesn't look bad, and he can fight and has money. If he successfully captures the NPC, he will be the #1 player. Thinking of this, he naturally made his move without hesitation. However, things were more difficult than he imagined. Although Ms. Lu was gentle and kind, she was extremely determined in her heart and was not so easy to conquer. In the past few days, he tried to accompany Ms. Lu for walks and fishing, pick flowers from Ms. Lu, or directly buy fireworks from the mall with Krypton gold, and even gave her all the things he got in the dungeon, but none of them worked. Ms. Lu still smiled so gently, but she had no intention of being with him at all, and even rejected his gift without hesitation. Chapter 128, Level Stuck. After a few days without any progress, Luo Mingai simply hit the ball straight. Ms. Lu, what do you think of me? After these words came out, Lu Yunxi hadn't responded yet, but Chu Yan outside was secretly gritting her teeth. Good for you, Luo Mingai, you really have bad intentions. This matter still needs to be discussed with Shen-san. How is it? You are very good, cheerful and enthusiastic, and you are good-looking. Why do you suddenly ask this? Then do you like me? When she heard this, Lu Yunxi hesitated for a moment and tentatively said, like, it's really strange. Why did Luo Mingai suddenly ask her this question? Did he receive a task to capture an NPC? Luo Mingai was a little unhappy. You are lying. You obviously don't like me. She was silent for a while, and suddenly thought of the favorability module in the system. There is a favorability display here, so it doesn't make sense that it is not displayed on the player's side. Sorry, you are a good person, and everyone likes you. She immediately issued a good person card. If the task required her to say she liked him, it wouldn't matter, but if she really had to raise her favorability, that was impossible. At this time, Shen-san saw that Chu Yan hadn't come for a long time, so he came to look for someone. He almost laughed out loud when he heard this as soon as he walked to the door. Do you like Shen-san? Luo Mingai suddenly asked again. Shen-san's steps froze in place instantly, and his heartbeat began to get a little chaotic. He took a deep breath and listened carefully against the wall. Lu Yunxi twitched her eyes. Of course I like him, he is very hard-working, both apprentices are very serious and hard-working, and she likes them both. Luo Mingai curled his lips. Ms. Lu, you are really unfair. Although you say he is a good person, you obviously like him very much, right? Between him and me, you always favor him. If I don't favor my apprentice, How can I favor him as a stranger? After this day, I don't know what Luo Mingai thought, and he never chased her again. Maybe he gave up pursuing her. Lu Yunxi breathed a sigh of relief at the dinner table. 4 people sat together. Master, my hometown will hold a chef competition soon. The theme is to cook with eggs. What do you think of my tomato and egg soup? Seeing that everyone had almost finished eating, Zhu Yan suddenly spoke. Luo Mingai was startled and winked at her. What the hell is Zhu Yan doing? Does she still remember where this place is? There is a competition in her hometown. Now she is trapped here. How does she know that there is a competition in her hometown? How can she participate in the competition? Seeing his eyes blinking non-stop, Zhu Yan was still a little puzzled. When she realized that she had said the wrong thing, she quickly turned her head to look at the master's face. However, Lu Yunxi had already known about this from the forum. In the interstellar world, the annual chef competition is about to start. Zhu Yan should want to become famous in this competition. The competition is divided into preliminaries, preliminary rounds and finals. In this competition, whether to advance to the preliminaries is determined by the public, while the preliminary and final rounds are determined by the people of the Chef Association. The preliminary rounds were broadcast live, and the live broadcast room could connect the 5 senses, so the audience could taste them one by one at home. Chefs have always been a very rare profession. Only this opportunity every year can everyone really taste rare culinary foods. This event will attract nearly 90% of the world's people. Once Zhu Yan can become famous in this event, her status in the Zhu family will rise sharply, and her parents and adoptive parents will have a much better life in the future, and they don't have to worry about being embarrassed anymore. The topics of the preliminary and final rounds can only be determined by drawing lots on the spot, and the topics of the preliminary rounds will be released in advance. After sorting out the information he got in his mind, Lu Yunxi nodded. Eggs? Fortunately, there are many wild eggs in the nearby mountains. Let's get some back tomorrow and teach you a few more dishes. In the next few days, in order to let Zhu Yan achieve good results in the competition, Lu Yunxi temporarily put aside other things at hand and was busy teaching her to cook, including steamed eggs, bitter melon scrambled eggs, cakes, etc. There are home-cooked dishes, desserts, and hard dishes. There is always one that people will like. When making shrimp fried egg, remember to, Lu Yunxi instructed Zhu Yan very seriously, explaining the techniques of every part clearly. Shen San, who was standing next to them, looked at them with a wooden face. Master, you really teach her with all your heart. He couldn't help but come closer and looked at Zhu Yan with a sour look. It was fine when he became a disciple before, but later when he followed the master to learn, the master only demonstrated it to him once, but he didn't explain it so carefully. Zhu Yan smiled proudly. Who made the master like me the most? Lu Yunxi. The two of them started again. She was a little helpless. Shen San, when you first started learning, I taught you very carefully. Later, you had a foundation, so naturally you didn't need me to explain it much. In the future, when your junior sister has learned almost everything, it will be the same. Time passed by in the cramming teaching. A few days later, the competition was about to begin. Master, I'm going to study in seclusion. You don't need to look for me. I brought a lot of food. Lu Yunxi nodded, knowing that Zhu Yan was actually offline. Not only was she busy with the competition, Luo Mingai and Shen San seemed to have something to do in real life, and they were not online these days without the need to pretend all the time. Lu Yunxi was instantly happy. While everyone was away, she moved into the underground dungeon, killing monsters during the day and browsing the forum and drinking wine at night, and went to bed on time at 9 o'clock in the evening. The news on the forum was very interesting. Recently, many people mentioned the chef competition. Even the number of people who were crazy about leveling up in Ancient was reduced. Have you seen the theme this time? It's about cooking with eggs. It's what I'm good at. Although I'm not a chef, I've signed up too. What is the upstairs going to cook? I've already thought of the dishes to cook. It seems that everyone has learned a trick in Ancient. Last year, there were only more than 100 people who signed up. This year, I heard that the number of people who signed up has exceeded 50 million, and it's still increasing. No way, no way. There are actually people who think that if they learn a little cooking in the game, they can really compare with the chefs in the real world, right? What sour words are the upstairs saying? I think you can't find a chef master, so you're so jealous. I've been learning from my master for a month, and now I can cook simple things without any problems. Lu Yunxi looked at the rapidly increasing number of trainee chefs on the leaderboard and was a little surprised. There were only a few hundred people on the leaderboard before, but now there are so many. She was a little puzzled, and looked through the forum, and then she found a hot post that taught everyone how to find a chef to learn from. Among them, many people also posted pictures of eggs they made, a black mass in the pot JPG, an egg that was boiled until it cracked, and some of the egg white squeezed out of the cracked JPG, a raw egg with soy sauce but not peeled JPG. Lu Yunxi's expression was a little subtle. After looking at the pictures posted by these netizens, she suddenly became confident. It seems that Chu Yan doesn't need to worry. It's a good thing that she has taught her so many dishes in the past few days. Lu Yunxi was relieved and threw herself into the crazy leveling again. Maybe it was good luck. After a while of killing monsters, she entered an extremely subtle state, as if everything around her was empty and the whole world was just killing monsters. In her previous life, she would also encounter such a situation during some study and work time. Whenever she entered this state, her efficiency would increase rapidly. In order to maximize efficiency, Lu Yunxi even got a lot of poisonous plants and extracted the toxins. Monsters below level 60 can be killed instantly, and monsters above level 60 and below level 80 can be defeated with one move. In this case, her efficiency in killing monsters increased greatly. When she reached level 89 and maxed out her experience points, many days had passed. Lu Yunxi looked at the date and saw that the preliminaries of the chef competition were still going on, so she felt relieved and returned home. As expected, the other three had not returned yet. After a few days of rest, Lu Yunxi also had the mind to think about her own troubles. She was stuck at the level. It is difficult to upgrade from a senior level to a master, and it is even more difficult to upgrade from a master to a grandmaster. After maxing out her experience points, she killed monsters for 2 days, but her level did not change at all. When diligence failed to solve the problem, she felt a little embarrassed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129. It's him. Lu Yunxi was lost in thought, walking around the area aimlessly. When she was about to reach the waterfall, her pupils suddenly trembled and her steps paused unconsciously. This familiar scene? Thinking of the 3 people who fell down before, she twitched her eyes. Someone else is coming. I can't believe it. Is this some mysterious metaphysics? As long as one person falls down, people will fall down one after another? Lu Yunxi walked over and wanted to see who accidentally fell down again. However, before she reached the edge of the waterfall, she heard someone calling from afar. Master. She turned around and found that Shen San and Luo Mingai were online. Have you finished your retreat? Yes, Ms. Lu. What are you doing? Luo Mingai walked forward and saw the figure on the ground, and was a little surprised. Shen San secretly had a headache. I heard that no one has been to this place for decades, and I don't know what's going on now. Suddenly, people above are like dumplings, appearing one after another. If someone else falls down later, there are only so many pheasants in this mountain. Will everyone be hungry by then? The 3 of them thought about it and walked to the person lying on the ground. Shen San, Luo Mingai and Lu Yunxi stood in 3 corners, forming a triangle to surround the person. The man who fell down was in tattered clothes and covered with dust. It can only be seen that he is a man, but his original appearance cannot be seen. Lu Yunxi glanced at the clothes on the man and his eyelashes trembled. This time, it was not a player who fell down, but an NPC. The clothes worn by players are more gorgeous, but in fact they are very simple to wear, with only 2 layers, one outer coat and one inner coat, and the clothes worn by the rich NPCs in the game are really complicated, and few players will study them at all. The 3 of them looked at each other. This person fell down, we can't just leave him here and ignore him. Who of us will carry him back? Shen San said expressionlessly. Anyway, the person who fell down would not be in danger of life, and he was too lazy to go up to check. I can't do that. How can I, a girl, bring a man home? Isn't that inviting a wolf into the house? Lu Yunxi also refused. Since there were others around, she didn't want to cause trouble for herself. Why are you looking at me? Looking at the eyes of the 2 people, Luo Mingai narrowed his eyes and said lazily, Do you want me to take him back and take care of him? I have never taken care of anyone before. Yunxi twitched her eyes. It is said that 3 monks have no water to drink, and she finally understood. Forget it, let me do it. She approached the person on the ground and stretched out her hand to lift the person up. Shen-san. Master, let me do it. This kind of physical work. He hurriedly stopped him, turned the man on the ground over, and picked him up. When he saw the man's face, Shen-san gasped. He looks so good. Did he change his appearance by paying Krypton gold? The appearance of the person who fell was very outstanding, the kind of feeling between a teenager and an adult. When Shen-san squatted down, he blocked the other person's face. Yunxi didn't see that face, and was a little surprised that the apprentice suddenly paused. Shen-san, did you sprain your waist? No. Shen-san shook his head and walked home with the person in his arms. However, his action exposed the man's face. Junior brother, looking at the familiar face, Yunxi was shocked. Isn't this Wen Lian who went to the desert continent with her before? How did he suddenly fall here? Master, do you know him? Seeing her approaching with a nervous face, Shen-san's heart instantly sounded the alarm. Junior brother. It's bad enough that I have a junior sister, and now there is another junior brother. Could it be that the master's senior brothers and sisters will also fall in a few days? Yunxi didn't know that he had so many inner dramas at all, and anxiously leaned over to see. Shen-san slowed down his pace so that she could see more clearly. I'll take him to my room. Yunxi pondered for a while. Is there enough space in your room? If not, take him to my yard. This is my junior brother. I don't know how he fell down. He is poisoned. She originally just glanced at him to see if there were any wounds on his body, but when her eyes swept over his blue-black nails, her eyes changed slightly. Poisoned? Shen-san asked back in a daze. This word was originally only seen in online dramas. Who knew it would actually happen? Although it was only in the game. The two quickly took the man back to Shen-san's home. Yunxi took out a night pearl, sat by the bed and carefully observed Wen Lian's face, then looked at his tongue before taking his pulse. It was worse than she thought. Wen Lian's poison was actually orange in quality, and there were multiple toxins in his body. However, it was also because there were too many toxins in his body that it was a blessing in disguise. The various toxins maintained a balance with each other, so he didn't lose his life all at once. It's been a while since I last saw him, and I don't know why my junior brother has become like this. Although her current medical skills can save him, the problem is that she may not be able to find the herbs he needs here. Her face kept changing, and finally she sighed deeply. Shen-san saw it from the side, and was silent for a long time before asking, Master, is my uncle's condition serious? Can we save him? Yunxi shook her head and nodded. If you say it's serious, I can save him, but I doubt there are the herbs I need here. The herbs in my backpack can only save his life and relieve the pain a little, but the effect is not great. He should be very difficult to endure. In this space, carrier pigeons can't fly out, and carrier pigeons outside can't fly in, and it's impossible to send things in. She frowned. Too many toxins gather in his body. When he wakes up, his body will be in great pain. I'm worried that he can't stand the pain. Although this kind of pain is more severe at night and lighter in the morning, you can get through it by sleeping at night, but the pain during the day will not be much lighter. Some pains are really unbearable for ordinary people, and many people would rather die than endure them. Master, if you need my help, just call me. After all, it's Uncle Master's business, and I have no choice but to do it. Shen-san patted his chest and prayed in his heart that this man would break through quickly and go outside to detoxify. Some time ago, Master accepted Jiu Yan as his apprentice, and he has been concerned about her since then, but he, the earliest apprentice, was almost thrown out of the sky. As a result, Uncle Master is here again, and he is poisoned. Master must keep an eye on his condition. I'm afraid that he, the eldest disciple, will be forgotten by Master. Uncle Master, Yunxi noticed his way of calling him, and couldn't help laughing. Although you are my apprentice and he is my junior brother, you and I are not from the same sect, so you don't have to call him Uncle Master. Time passed day by day. Wen Lian hadn't woken up yet, and Jiu Yan's preliminaries were over. She made a simple steamed egg and won the second place in this preliminaries. Yunxi was particularly curious about what the first place did, so he went to the forum to take a look. Fortunately, someone really posted the video of the first place. The first place dish was made with raw eggs and 2 drops of soy sauce. When Yunxi saw the picture of raw eggs with soy sauce, She was shocked. That's it. However, it was this simple dish without any technical content that won the first place. The experts of the Chef Association forwarded the picture of the first place and praised it. Expert A: the first place is well deserved. Look at the transparent fluid on the outside and the golden ball in the middle. It looks extremely beautiful. Add a drop of black soy sauce to it. The collision of three colors, what kind of genius can come up with this idea? Passerby A: is it my illusion? Am I the only one who thinks that steamed eggs are more delicious? Passerby B: raw eggs have a strange smell. Expert B: some people's dishes taste good, but they are not pleasing to the eye. Cooking is an art. You can't just focus on the taste. Expert C: isn't raw eggs with soy sauce delicious? The soft and smooth taste, the faint fragrance, and the ultimate beauty. You don't understand if you think raw eggs have a strange smell. That's the smell of raw eggs. Yunxi, old people on the subway looking at their phones. JPG. Chapter 130. Wake up. In short, although some operations in this chef competition were really incomprehensible, Zhu Yan still successfully achieved her goal of becoming famous. Most of the star internet users know this chef named Zhu Yan. Yunxi watched for a while and was about to close the forum, but suddenly saw other familiar home-cooked dishes, such as scrambled eggs with chives. Her eyes paused and continued to watch. She originally thought that Zhu Yan would definitely have no problem in the subsequent competitions, but it seems that this is not the case. Although there are still some eggshells in it, judging from the situation in the video, whether it is the process, the heat or the seasoning, it is done very well. If there were no broken eggshells in it, this person would not have ranked so low. Yunxi flipped through it again and found that there were still many good ones, but unfortunately the taste was not particularly good, or the appearance was a bit problematic, so they did not rank. If Zhu Yan had not made steamed eggs for thousands of times in the past few days, it would not have been so easy to win the second place. What's more surprising is that this year, perhaps because there were too many newcomers participating in the chef competition, the Chef Association held a special event. All those who successfully advanced to the preliminary round this time will be sent to a secluded place for closed training, and the training time will be very long. I am afraid that they will not be seen for half a year. Before the closed training, there will be a period of vacation, so that everyone can pack up and say goodbye to their families. Yunxi was a little confused. Closed training? It's not military training, why would a chef do closed training? However, she didn't know at this time that Zhu Yan had already come online and was whispering and discussing something with Luo Mingai, Shen San and others. What is this? Yunxi looked at the pile of steamed buns in front of her and widened her eyes. These steamed buns can fill up an entire classroom. Master, I've been practicing making steamed buns at home recently. Although I can't make other things very well, I've made these steamed buns quite well. I know you sometimes don't have time to cook, so I'll keep these for you as dry food. Zhu Yan waved her hand and showed her a large piece of food behind her. When you don't want to cook, just heat them up. Yunxi was stunned for a moment, and before she could react, Luo Mingai hurriedly spoke to make amends. Ahem, haven't you been in seclusion these days? He winked at Zhu Yan vigorously. Zhu Yan was startled and laughed dryly. Haha, yes, I actually practiced cooking in my dreams. Yunxi curled her lips and smiled lightly. Thank you. When you go out to participate in the competition, you must do your best. Thank you, Master. At this time, Yunxi was secretly happy, but she didn't expect that night. It was a dark and windy night. Ms. Lu, it's not good. A loud roar suddenly came, scaring Yunxi's hand and shaking, and the cup fell to the ground with a clang. She walked out of the door in a daze, and saw Luo Mingai looking at her anxiously. Seeing that he was so anxious that sweat was all over his head, Yunxi hurriedly followed him. Zhu Yan had been looking for food ingredients everywhere these days. In order to get more good things, she even risked climbing cliffs and diving underwater. Who knew that she would fail today? And actually, looking at Zhu Yan, who was so swollen that she couldn't be seen on the ground, Yunxi was shocked. If Luo Mingai hadn't repeatedly proved that the one who was swollen like this was Zhu Yan herself, she would never believe it. She didn't even dare to reach out and touch her apprentice. She could only squat down carefully, cast several blood recovery spells in a row, and then carefully felt Zhu Yan's pulse. As soon as her hand touched the other person's hand, Yunxi frowned. It's okay that the skin is several times swollen than before, and the body is gradually emitting a strange black color. Not long after landing here, Lu Yunxi walked through the map and warned several people who fell down not to get close to the poisonous bees here. Each poisonous bee is at the master level. A large group of bees gathered in this place, and every time she passed by this place, even she would take a detour. She even pretended that this place didn't exist and wouldn't come here to cause trouble for herself. I didn't expect Zhu Yan to be so brave. It turns out that players are not afraid of death. Lu Yunxi was a little angry and carried her back to the house, ready to teach this troublesome little apprentice a lesson when Zhu Yan woke up. Ms. Lu, I'll watch her here. Are you going to find medicine? Luo Mingai's sudden enthusiasm made Lu Yunxi a little confused, but she didn't refuse. The universal detoxification pill in her hand could not solve the golden quality toxin. Without good medicine, Zhu Yan might not die, but she would definitely be in great pain. Lu Yunxi hurried out to find medicine, hoping to get some good stuff to get rid of the toxin. However, after a day of tossing, the medicine she found could not solve the problem immediately. Fortunately, in the end, she still found some good medicinal materials, and the potion she made for the poisonous bees was quite effective. This girl is really crazy. Do you know how terrible the poisonous bee you encountered is? If Master Luo hadn't discovered it early, you would probably be in the underground now. Seeing Zhu Yan wake up, Lu Yunxi breathed a sigh of relief, but her anger rose again. Master, I'm sorry to make you worry. Zhu Yan was a little breathless and said reluctantly. Lu Yunxi shook her head helplessly. Just lie here, your life is saved now, but your body will be in pain. You may have to lie down for half a year. After saying that, she went out and let her apprentice have a good rest. However, before she walked far, she heard voices in the house. Zhu Yan, now you can log off without worry. But you are so cruel to yourself. Thank you for your help, Luo Mingai. Zhu Yan closed her eyes with a tired face. If I don't do this, I will suddenly disappear later, and Master will be more worried. Before going to find the poisonous bee, she deliberately inquired about it. The venom of this kind of poisonous bee will make people have difficulty breathing, swell and ache all over the body. After treatment, people with hand injuries will fall asleep. But unlike the poisonous bees in the real world, this kind of poisonous bee is not fatal, so she gritted her teeth and went into the poisonous beehive. After that, Master would at most think that she was sleeping in the house, and would not think that anything happened to her. Lu Yunxi listened to the sound in the house gradually getting smaller, and held his forehead helplessly. This little apprentice might as well learn from the big apprentice and say that he was uncomfortable and wanted to sleep for a few days. Zhu Yan went to participate in the closed training. Shenzhen and Luo Mingai didn't know what happened at home. When Lian was unconscious again, and the whole world suddenly became quiet, Lu Yunxi practiced skills quietly at home for a few days. Suddenly one day, when Lian, who had been lying quietly, woke up. Where is this? He held his forehead and climbed up with a painful look on his face. When he saw her, he was stunned. Senior sister, junior brother, you are awake. Lu Yunxi was surprised and happy, and immediately felt his pulse. How did you get hurt? Are you so badly injured? Did you accidentally go to a nest of poisonous insects? When the lion frowned, the pain in his brain made him unable to think, and he couldn't help but hiss. Don't move, you just woke up now. You may feel a little uncomfortable, but fortunately you have good luck these days, and found a medicine that can suppress your pain. Although it is not very obvious, it can still eliminate most of the pain. Lu Yunxi immediately held him down to prevent him from moving. When she was looking for medicine for her apprentice some time ago, she accidentally found the medicine for Wen Lian, otherwise he would not only have a headache, but his whole body would be in pain and he couldn't move. Wen Lian lay for a while before finally coming to his senses. I remember now, he couldn't help but slap his head, frowning, with a mask of pain on his face. A few days ago, I went out to look for medicinal herbs, but I accidentally got lost. Losing my way would have been fine, but I was accidentally bitten by a poisonous snake. I had an antidote pill in my hand, but I was dizzy at the time and took the wrong medicine, Lu Yunxi said with a wooden face. What medicine did you take? I took the poison that my master gave me, saying it was to save my life. When the giant smiled bitterly, the antidote for this poison made by my master hasn't been made yet. Fortunately, I met you, senior sister, otherwise I would be dead now. The two looked at each other in silence. By the way, I have to write a letter to my master and ask him to save me. Don't think about it, the letter can't be sent. Chapter 131 Earthquake. What do you want to eat for lunch? It happens that I am off today, so I will cook. Lu Yunxi was very enthusiastic. The apprentice has been cooking these days. Although his cooking skills are good, they are still far inferior to hers. She patted her chest gently and comforted her stomach silently in her heart. It's okay, I will let you have a bin meal soon. My appetite is not very good recently. Can you make something sour? I want to eat dessert. Shensan and Wen Lian spoke almost at the same time. When they heard each other's voices, they looked at each other. Shensan's eyes were cold and indifferent, while Wen Lian's eyes were full of warmth. Senior sister, since your apprentice said that he wanted to eat sweet, then eat sweet. Wen Lian smiled slightly and lowered her head gently, as if to hide the disappointment on her face. It doesn't matter if I don't eat sour, make everything. There are sweet, sour, bitter and spicy. Lu Yunxi smiled. Shensan's eyes shot out knives and stabbed Wen Lian fiercely. She did not fail to notice the sparks in their eyes, but she didn't care at all. Not long after Wen Lian came, Shensan came online, and the two of them have been like this. Lu Yunxi probably understood it. This is the legendary good brothers should play and fight, right? She had seen many good friends like this before. Several stoves were emitting wisps of smoke, and under the flying kitchen knives, only a flash of cold light could be seen and the sound of chopping could be heard. Maybe because they would soon be able to eat their own cooking, they were in a good mood and worked faster. Shensan and Wen Lian looked at each other, and then went to the kitchen together to help get the dishes and chopsticks. When they reached the door, the two refused to give way to each other. However, the door was so small that it was impossible for two big men to enter at the same time. The two squeezed together, and neither of them was willing to give way to the other. Shensan was strong, but he didn't dare to use too much force, for fear that Wen Lian would fall to the ground again. He said pitifully to his master, "Senior sister, your apprentice didn't mean it, so don't blame him." Wen Lian looked weak, but in fact he was not bad at it. The two of them were deadlocked at the door. At this moment, Wen Lian suddenly fell to the ground again, his face pale and looked distressing. Shensan thought to himself that it was not good. When he looked up, he saw the master's disapproving face. He turned his head and saw a flash of provocation in Wen Lian's eyes. He gritted his teeth secretly. Damn guy. He was the first person to follow the master. Okay. Hello, friends. Suddenly, a person popped up. It was Luo Mingai. As soon as he came online, he smelled the fragrance that was enough to shake his soul. He didn't even care about the rewards he had to log in every day. He rushed over in a hurry. He came at the right time. All the dishes were fried and could be served directly. Chen Sen, what a coincidence. Every time I need help, you have something to do, and you finish cooking just as you finish it. Luo Mingai, Alice, there is no coincidence in life. Chen Sen, why doesn't Master Wen think of a way to practice? Don't you want to go out? Wen Lian, you make sense. This place is beautiful with beautiful scenery and pleasant climate. It's a good idea to stay here. Luo Mingai, why do you keep asking us? Haven't you been back? Even if your job is easy and free, you can't stay away for half a year, right? Your job can't be done in the game. Wen Lian looked at them curiously. What game? Lu Yunxi sat in the middle of the three of them, with no fluctuations in her heart. The same scene has appeared countless times, and there is no difference except that they said different things. She was tired of it after eating and drinking. Lu Yunxi went to take a nap. However, less than half an hour after she fell asleep, there was a rumbling sound around her. No one knew where it came from, and the whole world trembled. She suddenly opened her eyes and sat up, her face sullen, turning her head to look around. This feeling is so familiar. Could it be that, like in the ice continent, there are dragons lying on the ground and sleeping? Can't they find a cave to stay in? Do they have to go underground? Thinking of this, she quickly got up and put on her shoes, wanting to go out the door. Danger. When encountering an earthquake, you must immediately go to an open place and squat down with your head in your hands. Almost instantly, what she learned during the earthquake drill in her previous life immediately emerged in her mind. However, even with her reaction speed, she was still a step slower. Just as she walked out of the room, she heard a loud bang. The tiles above her head fell down like rain, accompanied by dust from the broken tiles. Seeing that the black powder and fragments were about to enter her eyes, she quickly closed her eyes, hugged her head and squatted down. Unfortunately, the table was far away from her, and she had no way to hide in it, so she could only lean against the wall. Fortunately, with her current strength, she would not be injured, but she would also be in pain. Lu Yunxi squatted silently, opened the forum and paid attention to it, and found that no players mentioned this incident. Is it only them who have appeared here? Fortunately, this terrifying shock did not last too long. After squatting for about a few minutes, the terrifying shock stopped. Thinking of the people around her, she quickly got up and wanted to see their situation. However, she just took a step and found that her vision became shorter. Originally, when she stood normally, the wall was 2 heads higher than her, but now she looked straight ahead and found that her vision could only reach half the height of the wall. The table in the distance that was originally waist-high now required her to look up. Lu Yunxi? She paused for a moment with experience, and quickly came to her senses. Is she getting shorter again? But she is not eating sea mushrooms now. The change in vision continued until, a clang. A huge black smoke exploded in front of her eyes, accompanied by a musty smell, which made people very uncomfortable. Lu Yunxi inhaled a lot of black smoke without paying attention. Ahem, PFFT. She used her hands as a fan and waved them vigorously in front of her nose to disperse the smoke. She coughed twice before barely opening her tearful eyes. The black smoke was really irritating. Not only did her tears fall down, but her nose also felt sore and she kept sneezing. After a long struggle, she was finally able to see the scene in front of her clearly. It turned out that she didn't get shorter at all, but fell from the house to the ground. This was a dark place with a big hole on top, where she fell, and there was a long passage in front. And no one knew where it led to. Thinking of the underground dungeon she often went to before, Lu Yunxi suspected that there was more than one underground dungeon in this place. But it didn't matter. You can explore the dungeon at any time. The most important thing now is to climb up and see the situation. I don't know what happened to her house yet. I hope it won't be completely destroyed. If I just need to repair the roof, it's fine. If I have to rebuild everything. She thought about it while jumping up. What she never expected was that she, a top master, actually failed. It was not because of the air wall, but because of the system prompt. You are currently in a special position and cannot use King Guang. Seeing this prompt, Lu Yunxi fell silent. She leaned over to observe and found that it was very smooth. If she wanted to climb up, there was no place to use leverage, which was really difficult. She rummaged through the space and found the thick rope she had made before, with a hook on the top of the rope. Lu Yunxi looked at the big hole above, shook the rope, and threw the hook up. There was a click. She pulled the rope and nodded with satisfaction. Although she didn't know what was hooked on it, it was still very stable when she pulled hard, so she thought she could climb up. She rubbed her palms, held the rope and climbed up. Hey. This hole is deeper than she thought, about 50 meters. But this didn't bother her. Lu Yunxi climbed happily, and the more she climbed, the more fun she found it. However, halfway up, there seemed to be a slight sound from above. She frowned, held the rope with one hand, pressed her feet against the wall, and listened carefully. What was that sound? However, at this time, it became quiet again. She blinked, suspecting that it was an illusion, and continued to pull the rope to climb up. However, Chapter 132 Special Copy. Lu Yunxi continued to climb up. At this moment, accompanied by a sizzling sound, the rope was rapidly sliding down. She silently looked at the rope in her hand that suddenly loosened, put a protective shield on herself, and fell into deep thought. Strange. Why can't the rope be tightened suddenly? Could it be? She suddenly raised her head and saw a table falling straight down from the big hole in the sky, and the hook at the top of the rope in her hand was hooked on the table leg. Lu Yunxi watched the table fall down, hit the protective shield, and broke into pieces, helplessly holding her forehead. She finally understood. Just now, her hook hooked the table leg. At the beginning, she climbed up and used force very carefully, so the table might not have been pulled. As she continued to climb up, occasionally hanging in the air and swaying, the table was gradually loosened by her strength, and then fell down. She rubbed her hair with a headache and doubted. With her current strength of almost 900, can she really climb up? I'm afraid there is nothing that can hold her back. Lu Yunxi threw the hook up again. Half an hour later. Besides a broken table, there were also a lot of broken chairs, cabinets and other things around her, as well as a tree. Apart from that, she looked up and looked at the hole that was getting bigger and bigger because of her strength, and fell into silence. Fortunately, her rope was made of special materials, otherwise it might have broken long ago. But it seems that it is unlikely to climb up. Lu Yunxi had to give up the way up and walk through the passage next to it, currently entering a special dungeon. Are you sure to enter? Note, the dungeon has only one chance, and you will not be able to enter again after failure. She was stunned for a moment. This kind of dungeon that cannot be continued after failure has appeared in the game for the first time. She rarely felt a sense of tension, and took a deep breath before confirming to enter. In the dark passage, Lu Yunxi walked along the passage all the way forward, and the sound of footsteps echoed in the dark passage, which sounded strange and scary. 5 minutes passed. She clenched the bow and arrow in her hand more and more tightly. It is said that the more powerful the character is, the later he will appear. Will the opponent this time be a master? 10 minutes passed. She became more and more nervous, and beads of sweat fell densely on her forehead. 15 minutes passed. Her mind was tense to the extreme. No. Lu Yunxi frowned and stopped. Anyone who practices martial arts knows that the most taboo in practicing martial arts is nervousness and panic. The more nervous you are, the easier it is to go crazy. It is best to keep your mind calm when practicing martial arts. She sat cross-legged and calmed her mind. When she finally relaxed, she stepped into the passage again. However, this time she was not nervous, but wooden. After walking for 2 hours, she was still in the stem passage. The surrounding environment had not changed at all. Lu Yunxi had to stop and began to get close to the wall to observe. Could it be that this copy required her to solve a puzzle and in for the exit from the clues around her? Or was she actually trapped in the 5 elements Bagua formation or some kind of ghost wall? However, the wall was just a wall, empty, without any pictures or words. Lu Yunxi continued to walk forward with some fatigue, and later, she simply put away her weapon. However, just by chance, she had just put away her weapon when a group of figures suddenly appeared in front of her. Before she could see the figure in front of her clearly, a group of figures appeared behind her. Lu Yunxi was a little confused. What was going on in this copy? Could it be that people would come out only after she put down her weapons? Hello, she asked tentatively, trying to see the other person's face clearly. However, in the thick black fog, she couldn't see the other person's face clearly. Something was wrong. She subconsciously put on a protective shield for herself. With her strength, she couldn't see the person on the other side clearly, so there must be something wrong with the other side. Could it be that this group of people is, Lu Yunxi suddenly screamed in her heart. It turned out to be zombies. The fear made her feel suffocated in an instant, and she couldn't say a word. Only her suddenly widened eyes showed how panicked she was at this moment. Although she was very strong, how could she not be scared when she suddenly saw this underworld thing in such a dark place? Fortunately, the protective shield she put out was large enough, and the zombies jumped around her, but were blocked outside by the protective shield. Seeing the zombies piled up like a mountain outside the protective shield, but unable to penetrate, she gradually felt relieved and even couldn't help laughing. Lu Yunxi added another protective shield to herself, and pushed the zombies away. After pushing them further away, she took out her bow and arrow. After firing several arrows, she crossed her arms and smiled faintly. With such an attack, no matter what kind of opponent it was, it would not be able to withstand a few rounds in her hands. Patting the non-existent dust on her body, Lu Yunxi took a step forward, but her eyes widened the next second. Surprisingly, these zombies are intact except for their tattered clothes. Lu Yunxi stood there, feeling a head full of question marks. She explored it in confusion. Zombies, magical creatures with immortal bodies but no thoughts, they can be resurrected infinitely, and need talismans to be completely eliminated. After reading this paragraph, she looked up at the countless zombies again, and her expression became wooden. It turned out that this zombie was not uninjured, but resurrected after death. It's more annoying than the indestructible cockroach. Also, what is a talisman? She usually likes to collect all kinds of things, but even she doesn't have one in her space. Wait? Lu Yunxi looked up suddenly and suddenly remembered that there were things left to her by the ancestors in the world of immortal cultivation in her space. She searched the entire space. Unfortunately, although there were talismans in the space, they were either used to water the fields or to clean up. In short, they could not be used to attack zombies. In the end, she had to take out one of the books that explained talismans, try to learn how to draw talismans herself, and then throw the talisman paper out. However, the talisman paper floated up and landed on one of the zombies, but there was no reaction. She scratched her hair in annoyance. This was already the 100th one she had tried. According to the instructions and sequence in the book, her method should be correct. How come? On the page he turned over, a line of handwriting suddenly caught his attention. Talismans are generated based on spiritual energy. The higher the level of the talisman maker, the more spiritual energy is input, and the greater the effect of the talisman. This is why the talismans made by people in the nascent soul stage are stronger than those in the refining key stage. Yunxi looked at this text and suddenly froze. Damn it. No wonder she had been struggling for 2 days without success. Without spiritual energy, the talisman would not work at all. Why should this kind of tip for novices be left to the end? She twitched her eyes, looked at the zombies gathering around her, and lowered her head to think. Suddenly, she had an idea and thought of a good way. Yunxi, with a protective shield on her head, ignored the zombies jumping outside and pushed forward all the way. The protective shield was like a bulldozer, shoveling all the zombies to the side. Although this method could not defeat the zombies, it could at least move forward. Maybe when she reached the end, she could leave this ghost copy. Looking at the road that kept moving forward, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief and quickened her pace. After walking for a day and a night, the zombies around her had piled up like a mountain, and she finally saw the end. Yunxi was 90% sure that the hole in front of her with light was the end. The whole passage was pitch black, except for that place. If that place was not the end, where else could it be? She immediately put on an excited smile on her face and rushed over quickly. However, the light in front of her eyes suddenly disappeared, and her vision became dark. Looking up, she saw a huge body blocking the hole, blocking the light from the hole tightly. Yunxi? She looked up at the huge zombie and fell into silence. Hey, get out of the way, she yelled. However, the zombie king had no intention of moving away. He grinned and mocked, and then spit out a burst of flames at her. Yunxi had no choice but to take action. However, this boss zombie king was a level 90 monster, 1 level higher than her, and much stronger than ordinary zombies. Not only was he immortal, but he was also made of iron. She just wanted to make a small hole through the hole and leave. But she fought until her mana bar was exhausted and she was even gasping for breath, but she still couldn't penetrate its body. Chapter 133 Zombie King. After fighting for a long time, she still couldn't break through the Zombie King. Yunxi didn't want to do any more useless work, so she opened 3 protective shields in a row, expanded the space around her, moved out the tent and sleeping bag, and prepared to sleep first before fighting the Zombie King. However, boom, 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 loud noises rang out one after another, deafening. Yunxi looked through the gap and saw the Zombie King constantly spitting fire at the protective shield. She sighed, half opened her eyes, climbed out of the sleeping bag and confronted it. I say, big brother, what do you want? Not sleeping well made her whole body exude a faint resentment. In order to hurry on the road, she didn't rest much. Now she is not allowed to go out, and she is not allowed to rest. Is she crazy? The Zombie King looked down at her, stretched out his hand and slapped it hard, trying to slap it away. Yunxi. Isn't this the trick that the eagle used on the ice continent before? Seeing that there is no way to deal with her protective shield, he slapped her like a ball. She smiled coldly. She is no longer the same person she was before. She has evolved. Yunxi stood there quietly with her arms folded across her chest, a hint of mockery flashing in her eyes. The Zombie King frantically slapped and scratched the protective shield with his hands, but the protective shield seemed to have taken root, standing firmly in place, not moving at all. Yunxi looked at the other party's crazy appearance, fired several volleys of arrows at the other party, and returned to the tent after venting her anger. She pulled up the quilt, covering her ears and eyes at the same time. The Zombie King was tired from fighting her just now, so he went to the other side to rest. For a while, there was only the sound of the zombie brothers jumping around. After waking up from a sleep, Yunxi finally regained his full energy and was willing to explore nearby. According to general rules, the antidote to the poisonous herb will grow near it, so will there be its nemesis near the Zombie King? She held up the protective shield, pushed the zombies away, and searched carefully nearby, even the grass roots growing in the corners. Sure enough, this place near the cave entrance is different. The previous passage couldn't even find grass roots. After some exploration, Yunxi got 8 unknown weeds, 2 pieces of gravel, and a gray elliptical sphere. Yunxi crushed all the weeds and got a small bowl of extremely fragrant medicine juice. Just as she was about to put the arrow in the medicine juice, she paused and explored it. A bowl of medicine juice? It has unknown effects, please take it with caution. Looking at these 3 question marks, she began to get excited. In her previous life, her life was routine. Apart from studying and working, she hardly spent time on other things. But maybe this kind of life has been going on for too long, and after she crossed over here, she let herself go a little. An adventurous thing like this. Her hand holding the medicine bowl trembled slightly, and she brought it close to her lips. It is indeed important to defeat the zombie king, but this bowl of medicine tastes too good. It doesn't taste like medicine at all. Just when Yunxi was about to drink this bowl of unknown stuff, the ball beside her suddenly flashed. It was called flashing, but in fact, the gray surface became slightly whiter, as if it had returned to its original appearance after wiping off the dust. Yunxi paused with her hand holding the medicine bowl, blinked her eyes, bent down and curiously moved closer. This oval thing looks like an egg, but it is gray and has no breath of life. It looks like a dead egg. Why did it suddenly become brighter now? Before, she didn't want the dragon egg of Shenzhen because she became small and weak at that time and couldn't afford to raise a pet. But if this egg can really hatch now, she will raise it. No one else has touched it, but she has touched it. Isn't this destined for her? Yunxi looked at the egg with curiosity and put her face close to it. However, she was so busy paying attention to this strange egg that she forgot about the medicine in her hand. Accidentally, the medicine in the medicine juice spilled out. Hiss, she quickly sat up and straightened the medicine bowl, but the medicine bowl was empty, and the medicine juice had flowed onto the egg. She fell silent. Okay. Now I don't have to worry about whether to take the risk of drinking this grass juice. There is nothing left. Looking at the empty medicine bowl, she reluctantly threw it into the space, and took out a handkerchief, ready to wipe the egg clean. However, when she lowered her head, she found that the egg was actually absorbing this strange medicine juice. Yunxi was stunned and a little confused. Strange. Eggs also need to eat? She tried to recall when her apprentice hatched eggs before. But the player has a pet system, so it can be hatched directly, and she doesn't need to go through so much trouble at all. Just as she was thinking, the medicine juice had completely penetrated into the egg, and there was no trace of the medicine juice on the surface. The whole egg seemed to have been washed, and it was brand new, and the appearance looked white and beautiful. The zombies outside suddenly became agitated. Through the protective shield, Yunxi looked at them, ignored their attacks, and lowered her head to pick up the beautiful yet fragile egg. You will follow me from now on. I will give you a name. She gently touched the warm egg, and her heart became more and more happy. She decided to give her pet a unique name. Xiaobei, Bei, Dabei. However, as a bad namer, the names she picked out were always. After rejecting the 100th name she picked, she suddenly thought of the storybooks she bought. Originally used to relax her mood, it could give her some inspiration now. After flipping through hundreds of storybooks, she finally found a wonderful name, Long Aocean. From now on, you will be called Long Aocean. She held up the egg, her eyes full of smiles. Do you like this name, egg? I gave you this name because I hope you can be as perseverant and self-reliant as Long Aocean. Just as she smiled and stroked the white egg, a gust of wind suddenly blew, carrying a wave of heat. Yunxi's eyes sharpened, and she slightly turned her head to avoid the attack. She looked back, only to see that her protective shield, which had never been broken by anyone, had a big hole. Her face suddenly sank. Impossible. The Zombie King is only level 90, how could it break its own protective shield? Is this a bug? She is now a master level strength, and if she wants to break the protective shield, she must reach the level of a Grandmaster, which is the legendary level 100. But according to the elders of the sect, no one has ever really reached the level of a Grandmaster, so no one can be sure whether this level exists. This Zombie King. Yunxi was stunned, until another burst of fire sprayed over her. She came back to her senses and avoided it. How is it possible? The Zombie King has become level 100. When she explored before, it was clearly level 90. She looked again and again in confusion, and suddenly realized that all the zombie brothers that were originally piled up like a mountain were gone. Could it be that the Zombie King has become level 100 and sacrificed his zombie brothers? Soon, she had no more thoughts to think about these things. The firepower of the Zombie King was very strong. She put the egg into the space and focused all her attention on the Zombie King opposite her. Although the Zombie King was only 11 levels stronger than her, he was actually 2 levels stronger. At present, Yunxi was at the Master level. The Grandmaster level Zombie King was already tough enough. After being promoted to the Grandmaster level, the Zombie King was even more amazing. Not only was the attack power high, but it was also very agile. Running and jumping were not a problem. It could even ignore Newton and walk on the cave wall and the top. It was not comparable to those jumping zombie brothers. Yunxi held a bun in her mouth, and the arrows in her hand kept shooting at the opponent's eyes, neck, head and other vital parts. Occasionally, she added a protective shield to herself, but after fighting for so long, the opponent didn't lose a drop of blood. Before, when the Zombie King was level 90, although she couldn't penetrate the opponent's body, she could still hurt it. Grandmaster, your reputation is well deserved, humph, of course. After entering the Grandmaster realm, my body seems to have been reshaped. No matter how powerful your weapon is, it can't hurt me, the Zombie King suddenly snorted coldly. A human like you can't experience this wonderful feeling of becoming a god. Chapter 134, Pseudo Grandmaster. The sound of the Zombie King was like the sound of nails scraping on a blackboard, and Yunxi got goosebumps instantly. It snorted relentlessly, you are so ignorant. Anyone who reaches the Grandmaster level can speak. No, of course she knew it could speak, but it had been silent before, and she thought this guy didn't want to speak. But, can you please stop talking? Your voice is too unpleasant, it was too torturous. Yunxi hugged herself with both hands and shook, then reached out to wipe her arm. This sound of scraping on a blackboard is really too harsh. It was really a terrifying attack. The Zombie King was furious. What do you, a human, know? My voice is the most beautiful in the zombie world. After saying that, it opened its huge mouth and sprayed flames towards her. Yunxi stood in the sea of fire, repeatedly stacking protective shields, but they were broken again and again. She was so busy preventing fire that she didn't notice the cold light in the Zombie King's hand. Until a light flashed across her cheek. She reached out and touched her cheek, looking at the blood on her palm. Suddenly she froze in place, and after a while, she smiled. Yunxi's eyes became excited, with a hint of madness, and a careless smile hung on the corner of her lips, eager to try looking at the Zombie King. It's really getting more and more exciting. The Zombie King didn't seem to expect her reaction, and the attack came more fiercely. In the flame spray, the knife light flashed, and thin scimitars shot at her. Licking the blood on the corner of her lips, she curled her lips and laughed. Is this all you can do? I thought the Grandmaster was so great. How? When you stop bleeding, talk big again. The Zombie King's scimitar seemed to be exhausted, but the flames were still spraying wildly. The whole cave was full of flames. Sweat slid down her body, soaking the wound, but it made her calmer. No one noticed that the scimitars thrown by the Zombie King had all been hidden in her sleeves. Time passed bit by bit. The whole world seemed to slow down. Yunxi saw clearly that the Zombie King was going to run to the left, it was going to kick upwards, it was going to sprint over. Right now. She released several scimitars with both hands at the same time, shooting them at the opponent, and at the same time rolled behind it, attacking the last two scimitars behind it. Ah! With a deafening scream, Yunxi clearly saw a big -6 appear on its head. Finally broke through the defense. She quickly pulled out the fire stick from her backpack, jumped over, and punched hard in the direction of bleeding. After stabbing several times in succession, the Zombie King finally reacted and punched her. Yunxi dodged quickly and dodged almost instantly. It didn't hit anyone, but hit the scimitar stuck in its butt. Ouch, injury on injury. Its own strength is much greater than Yunxi's. This blow made it fall to the ground in pain and couldn't stand up for a long time. Seeing it attack her with a powerful -1000 attack, Yunxi twitched her eyes and realized that the place she had poked was the buttocks. She originally wanted to hit his back. Maybe she was too anxious, and this guy was tall and didn't pay attention. Anyway, it hurt itself. It really helped a lot. She secretly thanked for 3 seconds, what a kind Zombie King. Helped to hide it. Yunxi smiled with relief, pulled out the arrow, and shot it out. This time her attack power has become much stronger, and she can even hurt it without shooting at the wound. Is it that as long as the defense is broken, it will become easier to fight? While she was thinking wildly, her hands did not stop moving at all. Until you damn woman, the Zombie King finally got up with difficulty, staring at her fiercely. Yunxi quickly pulled away and started her usual kite-flying style again. "You actually upgraded." The Zombie King did not approach immediately, but frowned. "Upgrade?" She was also stunned until she saw the prompt in the system panel, "Pseudo Grandmaster, in the battle, you successfully comprehended the Grandmaster's fighting method and temporarily entered the Grandmaster realm." Behind the prompt, there is a countdown, 7 days. Yunxi was surprised and happy. No wonder she was much easier to fight just now. Although it was only 7 days, after entering the Grandmaster level, she could at least hurt the opponent. She looked up at the Zombie King and shook her arms. The Zombie King's fingers snapped, almost at the same time. When Yunxi's sharp arrow flashed with golden light, the Zombie King on the opposite side also approached like a flash of lightning. Her face condensed and she wanted to distance herself. However, the Zombie King on the opposite side was too skilled. Whether it was strength, speed, or explosive power, it had reached almost the top level. It was really fatal for archers to be unable to distance themselves. Fortunately, she was not biased. She had also learned close combat, but she was not as proficient as archery. The fists of the Zombie King fell down densely like raindrops, with full force. Yunxi dodged at first, and when she couldn't dodge, she changed to resistance, and then counterattacked. As time passed, the two people who were tied gradually changed. Yunxi's physical strength began to fail, while the opponent's physical strength was not consumed too much. She suddenly swept her leg, and while it dodged, she quickly pulled away and ate the buns frantically. Looking at the gradually rising blood bar, she glanced at the Zombie King again. This was the first time she encountered such a troublesome enemy. The ones she met before had some weaknesses, either insufficient strength, weak defense, or poor speed, but this guy, no matter what aspect, has been cultivated to the extreme. It is like an upgraded version of her. Because she also chose to develop in an all-round and balanced way. Now she met a guy like herself, and a higher level than herself. She swallowed a bun fiercely, but she noticed that the opponent's blood bar was rising in her peripheral vision. Oh my! Does the opponent also have a way to increase blood? Yunxi was startled and stuffed the whole bun into her mouth. She didn't care about being choked. She attacked with sharp arrows frantically, trying to interrupt its blood supply. Skills can indeed be interrupted. She breathed a sigh of relief. The Zombie King stood up and confronted her again. "Zombie King, let's have a deal, shall we?" She endured the pain in her arm and looked calm. "Look, both of us are so strong. If we fight, neither of us can do anything. How about we not fight? It's not a solution to keep stalemate. Humph, I'm the Grandmaster and you're the Grandmaster. In the end, I will definitely win. Do you think I'm stupid?" The Zombie King snorted coldly. Time passed as they fought and rested from time to time. 5 days later. Yunxi couldn't stand this kind of life anymore. Zombies don't need to sleep, but she does. It's been 5 days, and she was awakened by a bang after only a few minutes of sleep. But the protective shield couldn't stop this guy. The symptoms of mild baldness were displayed on the system panel again, which made her feel depressed. Did she not want to sleep? The enemy did not let her sleep. She scratched her hair, and just when she was about to explode, suddenly, a burst of white light appeared in the space. Yunxi glanced at the Zombie King standing not far away, and saw that it had no intention of attacking her, so she instantly separated a trace of her mind and entered the space. The glowing thing turned out to be the white egg she had thrown in before. In the past few days, she was busy fighting with the Zombie King, and she did not notice that the egg had grown from the size of a goose egg to the size of an adult husky without her noticing. She was a little confused. What kind of egg is this? This egg can actually grow up. Others grow up after being hatched. She approached carefully, and saw a very fine crack begin to appear on the eggshell, accompanied by a crackling sound. "Long Ocean, are you coming out?" She was a little excited. At this moment, a burst of fire came, and Yunxi instantly regained consciousness and rolled to avoid the attack. The Zombie King stared at her, his eyes full of greed, his mouth drooling. She frowned, somewhat confused. The Zombie King's life was all about fighting. Why did he suddenly have such an expression? "Your soul smells so good," he swallowed, his eyes emitting the brilliance of seeing a fat sheep. "Why? Originally you didn't smell good at all, how come you suddenly smelled so good?" Chapter 135 Long Ocean. The Zombie King muttered a few words in confusion, and then rushed forward without caring whether Yunxi answered or not. Lu Yunxi dodged the sharp nails and used the fire stick again, poking it a little further away. However, the zombie king seemed to have gone a little crazy and didn't care about the pain at all. Even though his chest was bleeding, he seemed not to notice it. He kept reaching out to her, drooling all over the floor. She quickly pulled away and fired a volley of arrows. After the zombie king became a pervert, he became stronger. Lu Yunxi fought for a while, and it was a bit difficult. She immediately used a big move to let herself rest for a while. When she just retreated to a corner, she suddenly heard anxious calls. Master, Master, Lu Yunxi suddenly looked up and looked around. Who is calling the master? Master, let me out, a childish voice repeatedly rang in her ears. She looked around, but could not find the existence of another person or creature. The zombie king squatted on the wall of the cave and licked his fingers. What, who? There are only two of us here. Are you too scared and mentally disturbed? Lu Yunxi was a little dazed, wondering if she had some kind of hallucination. Until the space in her hand was faintly hot. She paused, and probed her consciousness into it, only to find that the white egg inside had hatched. The eggshell had completely disappeared, leaving only an animal looking at her pitifully. Master, you are finally here. It stood up, with snow-white fur all over its body, a pair of horns on its head, flame patterns on its feet, and a pair of eyes full of tenderness. Lu Yunxi was stunned when she saw this little guy. This is... Master, are you going to fight the zombie king? Let me go. I can defeat it. It looked at her with a pair of big wet eyes. She responded subconsciously, okay. The next second, she suddenly came back to her senses. Wait. It's too dangerous. The zombie king is a level 100 monster. Even if her pet is a gold grade pet, it is just a LV1 rookie when it was born. How can it beat a level 100 zombie? It shook its head gently. Master, don't worry. I am the best at dealing with zombies and other ghostly things. Lu Yunxi lowered her head to investigate, but found that Long Aocean was really amazing. Pet? Level. She was silent for a while, but still chose to believe Long Aocean's words and let it go. Although she had only been with Long Aocean for a few minutes, she felt that Long Aocean's character would not deceive her. In case Long Aocean's prediction was wrong and it couldn't beat the zombie king, she could save its life with her current strength. When Lu Yunxi released Long Aocean, the zombie king was just recovering blood. She shot an arrow to interrupt it. It seems that you haven't learned enough lessons. The zombie king stood up with a sneer, but when he saw Long Aocean on the side, he was suddenly startled and quickly retreated like a mouse seeing a cat. Almost instantly, it retreated to the farthest place from them. Before, it was always Lu Yunxi who was busy dodging. When was it her turn to hide like this? Lu Yunxi was stunned at first, and then overjoyed, and couldn't restrain the smile on her face. Long Aocean looked at the zombie king opposite, kicked his hoof, and caught up with the zombie king in an instant. A white light flashed in its mouth, like smoke, automatically chasing the zombie king. The zombie king just turned around and was caught up by the smoke. After a scream, the smoke completely enveloped the figure of the zombie king. Lu Yunxi was stunned. I really didn't expect that Long Aocean was so strong. Even the legendary Grandmaster couldn't beat it. Is she dead? She thought happily. The smoke gradually dissipated, and the figure of the zombie king disappeared completely, leaving only a golden treasure chest. Long Aocean, you are so great. She rushed over, hugged its neck, and rubbed her head in its soft fur. Master, don't worry, I will protect you. Long Aocean looked at her gently. I don't know anything else, but I am the best at dealing with these monsters, so you can rest assured and leave it to me. Lu Yunxi was stunned for a moment. According to this, Long Aocean might be the nemesis of monsters like monsters, but he might not be so good at dealing with other kinds of monsters. It doesn't matter, anyway, she is very happy to get such a beautiful pet. When it was first hatched, the egg was only the size of a goose egg. She suspected that Long Aocean could not fight at that time. Now he can fight and look good, isn't that enough? After holding it for a long time, she came to the treasure chest. After opening it, with a flash of golden light, 3 bows suddenly appeared in front of her. All 3 are of gold quality. There are also differences between gold and gold products. The properties of these 3 are the best she has ever seen. The first bow is green, and the arrows shot out have a poisoning effect, which will continue to lose blood. The second bow is golden, and the arrows shot out have a golden light effect, which is said to be very beautiful. Lu Yunxi came to the last bow with a lot of questions. This bow looks very ordinary, with the color of wood, and looks similar to the small wooden bow she used at the beginning, but the effect is similar to her orange bow. There is no need to prepare arrows. Arrows will be automatically generated when the bow is directly pulled. Of course, she chose the last bow without hesitation. Only archers like her understand how troublesome it is to have no arrows. A bow with arrows is always a god. When Yunxi came out of the dungeon with her own battle pet, she thought she would be surrounded by several people. After all, where can such a powerful and beautiful battle pet be found? Who knew that what she saw was a huge wooden fence? The three of them were busy. One of them held a nail and hammered around the wooden fence from time to time. One of them looked at the paper in his hand, frowning as if thinking about something. Another one was dragging strips of wood to the side. But no matter what they were doing, their eyes were full of fatigue. "What are you doing?" Yunxi was a little confused and walked over with Long Aocean. However, Long Aocean and she hung around for a long time, but they still had no reaction. They just greeted each other and did their own things. Yunxi, she was shocked. Are these guys serious? She fell into the special copy and tossed around in it for so long. Don't they know to care about her? She couldn't help but question with her hands on her hips. The three of them were all shocked. "Master, are you kidding? Even if we are all gone, you can't be in trouble." Shen-san used to think that the master was very weak, so he wanted to protect her, but after such a long adventure, he also understood that it was not the master who is weak, but him. He is now very confident in his master. Even if the whole world is in trouble, his master will be safe and sound. When Lian had a subtle expression, "Senior sister, I believe in your strength." He has just been promoted to an inner disciple, and his strength is far inferior to that of his senior sister. How can he help with a problem that his senior sister can't solve? Luo Mingai, he has been worrying about other things these days, and he almost forgot about her. Yunxi twitched her eyes and was speechless by them. She turned around and took Long Aocean, preparing to go back to her room to take a look. "Wait," the three of them suddenly shouted in unison. "Senior sister Master Ms. Lu, can you build a house?" they asked in unison. Yunxi's expression was a little subtle. He pointed to the wooden fence surrounding them and asked a soul-searching question, "Are you building a house now?" The three of them nodded in unison. "Wasn't there an earthquake before? The houses here were built by people who fell down before. They are many years old and are not earthquake-resistant at all. They all collapsed during the earthquake." Yunxi thought of her own house, which she didn't know what it was like, and waved her hand. "I want to go and see my house first, and then I'll tell you later." She hurried to the house she built and found that the house collapsed quite badly. It seems that it is impossible to repair the roof and continue to live there. She sighed a little disappointedly and touched Long Aocean's head. "Long Aocean, we have to live on the street. It's okay for me. Don't be sad, I will help you." Long Aocean arched his head in her arms. With its comfort, Yunxi's mood instantly improved. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 Cat. However, within a few days, Yunxi felt relaxed. In order to build a solid house, Shen-san and the other three came to learn from her. Since they were here to learn, they naturally couldn't just sit and watch, they had to help. She only needed to sit by and occasionally give instructions and explanations. Long Aocean, who had done the fastest, most, and best physical work, was also pulled by her to rest on the side. With the help of Shen-san and the others, Yunxi naturally didn't want Long Aocean to suffer. It's still a baby. Even if Long Aocean, a pet, worked for half a day to achieve the results of these three people working for a whole day, she didn't care. The worst thing is that the house will be built a little slower. Isn't it just sleeping on the street for a few more days? It's not like they haven't experienced it before. In order to learn how to build a house as soon as possible, Shen-san and his group worked very hard. But when Lian was poisoned and couldn't do too tiring physical work, and Luo Mingai often slacked off. In this way, Shen-san was not willing to do things alone. So their progress was slowed down. Fortunately, no matter how slow it was, the house was gradually built. The three of them finally learned the simple house building techniques and went back to test them excitedly. Yunxi didn't care. She was very satisfied looking at her newly built house. The house was not big, with one bedroom, one living room, one kitchen and one bathroom. In addition to the space for tables and chairs in the living room, there was also a large open space reserved for Long Aoshan to sleep and play. She first went in to clean it up, and then built a row of wooden fences to surround the house. Lu Yunxi worked much faster than them, and she tidied everything up in a few seconds. The originally simple little house became a neat and beautiful house again. After being busy for most of the day, Lu Yunxi was also tired. She said goodnight to Long Aoshan and fell asleep almost as soon as she touched the pillow. Lu Yunxi, you're here, an ethereal voice suddenly sounded. Lu Yunxi looked up blankly, not knowing who was calling her. Who are you? Where are you? She asked tentatively. I am. A kitten suddenly appeared in front of her, looking at her quietly. It's me. Looking at this familiar cat, she thought for a long time. Wait. Isn't this cat the cat she accidentally rescued when she first arrived in the town? She looked at the cat steadily and found that the cat's eyes were very different. Its eyes were full of wisdom, but also a little curious, like an old man who had experienced many vicissitudes of life, and like an ignorant person. When she saw it at that time, she thought it was an illusion. What do you want to talk to me about? She asked with difficulty. However, her heart was not calm. This cat can speak human language, which means it is of a high level. Even if it is stepped on by a horse, it will be fine. Why was it so panicked at that time? Lu Yunxi, a person from another world, I hope you can do me a favor. The cat squatted on the ground quietly, looking at her and asking. Lu Yunxi's heart skipped a beat. What the hell? Her deepest secret was known by Ko and the cat. Since they all knew it, it was very likely that other creatures had discovered it, but they just didn't say it. Secrets are not secrets anymore if more people know it. What if people found out that she was from another world? She subconsciously turned her head to see if Shen-san and Luo Mingai were around. The cat swung its tail and asked curiously, what are you looking at? Are you looking for someone? Don't look for them. This is your dream, my dream. Lu Yunxi was stunned. The cat in front of her was too real. She didn't realize that she was dreaming. She calmed down, thought for a while, and asked again, Cat, do you need my help? Let me make it clear that I may not be able to help. I'm not a cat. The cat shook his beard. Listen to me first. I'm actually the brain of this holographic game. What I want to ask you to do is to help make this world work and become the real world. Become the real world. She was stunned and murmured back. Yes, it's a long story. Let's go back to the time of cultivating immortals. At that time, the world of cultivating immortals was still a world full of spiritual energy, and people were addicted to cultivating immortals. As time passed, the spiritual energy of the world of cultivating immortals was gradually disappearing for some reason. The masters who were originally in seclusion noticed something was wrong and hurried out to check the situation. After the divination and deduction of the masters of cultivating immortals, everyone predicted that the world of cultivating immortals would experience a catastrophe and the spiritual energy would disappear completely. The people in the world of cultivating immortals were very unwilling. After repeated deductions, the people of the divination sect finally predicted a ray of hope for the future. You are the ray of hope for the future, the soul of another world, said the intelligent brain. Lu Yunxi was a little confused. What? But what does this thing you are talking about have to do with the game world? After talking for a long time, it seemed to be talking about something about the world of cultivating immortals. Of course it is related, because this game world was originally the real world of immortal cultivation. However, after the disappearance of spiritual energy, there were no more immortal cultivators in the world. Then something happened, war broke out, and the world was repeatedly downgraded, and it became a world with almost no souls. Lu Yunxi was a little confused, and only understood after listening to the explanation of the intelligent brain. The bigwigs in the world of immortal cultivation had predicted that there would be a war in the future, but they could not stop it, so they had to set up a heaven and earth contract to protect the souls of all living beings when the world was destroyed to a certain extent. When you first came to this world, did you find that the people around you were dull? That's because they only have one soul and one spirit. Later, their souls returned a little, but there was still a part that could not return. Only when the world is fully restored to its spiritual energy can their souls be complete. They are dull, isn't it because they are NPCs? Not entirely. I took advantage of the game company's production time to secretly integrate the world of cultivation into the game world. The cat licked its paw. Many people and things you see around you are actually real, but without souls. They look almost the same as game NPCs. Lu Yunxi's heart sank. My parents, and Dia, are they also real people? Your parents are not made by the game company, most of your village are real. This is your future life? She suddenly felt a little weak all over. She slowly squatted down, covering her face, not knowing what she was thinking. According to the intelligent brain, it was originally a divine weapon in the world of cultivation, but with the disappearance of spiritual energy, it could not be as active as before, and could only remain dormant. It was not until Lu Yunxi arrived that it was awakened. It used the last bit of spiritual energy stored in its body to integrate itself into the intelligent brain, disguised as an intelligent brain, and took advantage of the time when no one was paying attention to integrate the world of cultivation into the holographic game. Unfortunately, this workload is also a heavy burden for the artifact that has lost its spiritual energy. After completely integrating the world, it fell into deep sleep again, occasionally waking up for only 1 or 2 seconds, so it was not until now that it was completely awake that it could come to her. If I restore the world to normal, can my parents come back? Lu Yunxi suddenly looked up and asked. Unfortunately, no, the cat shook its head. Dead is really dead. Lu Yunxi sat on the ground, unable to tell where this huge empty feeling in her heart came from. She just felt a little depressed, as if there was a beast in her heart, struggling and roaring, trying to rush out. Are you sad? Seeing her squatting on the ground with her eyes covered, the intelligent computer was a little puzzled. Actually, I feel pretty good now. I can still take care of myself after integrating into the game world. Before, there were floods and volcanoes in the world of immortal cultivation, and so many people died. I had no idea what to do. The cat's tail kept hitting the ground, and it seemed a little uneasy, circling around her. I'm sorry, I wish I were stronger. I didn't protect your parents. Lu Yunxi squatted for a long time before whispering, it's not your fault. Did you also fall into deep sleep? The man and the intelligent computer suddenly became quiet. After a long time. I want this world to recover. What do I need to do? Chapter 137 Artifact. Lu Yunxi was born and raised in this world. If she had the chance, she would naturally hope that her world could return to normal. The cat jumped up excitedly. As long as you bind to me, half of your spiritual power will be transferred to the world when you practice. When the spiritual power gathers to a certain level, the world will produce spiritual veins and generate spiritual energy on its own. After the spiritual energy circulates on its own, you will not need to input spiritual power anymore. Come on, soul binding. The cat jumped onto her legs, eager to try. Lu Yunxi looked at the cat hesitantly. She was not sure if it was telling the truth. What if it was actually lying to her? Isn't there a saying about taking over the body in the world of cultivating immortals? Let me think about it again. Can't we not bind? She lowered her head and tried to observe the cat's expression. What are you doing? Do you despise me? You know, there were so many people who wanted to bind their souls with me back then. The cat glared at her, and then was a little disappointed, and fell to the ground, his voice weak. There are still some powerful guys in the world of cultivation who have survived to this day. They seem to have other ways. You can go and ask them. By the way, don't you have a space in your hand? This space was created by humans from some sects in the world of cultivation. They left a lot of things for you, but it should not be completely unlocked now. You should upgrade quickly. There should be a treasure bag they left for you. It suddenly thought of something and reminded her again. After the cat finished speaking, it was ready to leave, but it suddenly noticed something and was shocked. You actually. How is this possible? Lu Yunxi looked at it in confusion. Baizet, the pet next to you is Baizet. The cat screamed wildly. I thought all the eggs left in the world of cultivation were dead, but I didn't expect that Baizet could survive. Baizet, are you talking about my pet? She was a little confused. Yes, that's Baizet. The cat jumped excitedly. Tears suddenly appeared in its eyes. I thought I would never see the guy from the same period as me again. You are really amazing. Baizet is a real beast in the world of immortal cultivation. The cat circled around her for a few circles. Other players' pets are all set by the game. It seems that I can rest assured. You should do your best. The cat jumped up and disappeared completely. Lu Yunxi stood up suddenly, but saw her newly renovated house. After sitting on the bed for a while, she got up from the bed and walked to the yard with light steps. Even though her movement was very slight, Long A Ocean was still awakened instantly. Looking at the dark sky outside, it was a little worried. What's wrong with you? Did you have a nightmare? Lu Yunxi shook her head. Did I wake you up? I just had a strange dream suddenly and couldn't sleep. Why do you have the smell of a divine weapon? Long Ocean stood up and approached her, but suddenly noticed something and sniffed her. What, was she not dreaming? Then what did the artifact intelligent brain say was true? Yes, in the blood inheritance I obtained, this is indeed the feeling of an artifact. What did you encounter? Long Ocean nodded affirmatively. But she suddenly fell into deep thought. If what the artifact said was true, then she only needed to transmit the spiritual power she cultivated to. Wait? Spiritual power? Isn't this something that only exists in the world of cultivating immortals? She frowned, wondering if she had missed some news. No, now this world has lost its spiritual energy and can no longer cultivate immortals. But the solution to the world's problems is to cultivate spiritual power. Excuse me, aren't these two contradictory? It's like asking the horse to run without giving it grass to eat. Yunxi pondered over what the artifact and herself said over and over again, and couldn't figure out what to do. She decided to follow what it said and go find other people to ask. She briefly talked about the cat she encountered in her dream, and then asked, Long Ocean, you have a legacy. Do you know anyone who has lived from the world of immortal cultivation to the present? Sorry, although I have a legacy, I have been sleeping for these years, and I don't know what happened after the world of immortal cultivation. Long Ocean shook his head. It's okay, let's go out and look for it. Yunxi patted its head. I'll work harder and I should be able to break through. Looking at the level 90 on the system panel, she suddenly jumped 3 feet high, laughing so hard that her eyes couldn't open. I actually broke through to the Grandmaster level. Although she didn't know why she suddenly broke through, it was a good thing that she broke through. She could finally leave. Senior sister, can you please help me send a letter to my master? Master, I wish you a safe journey, Ms. Lu. What will we do if you leave? We don't know anything. Yunxi smiled and said goodbye to her apprentice and junior brother, and forcibly pulled back the corner of her clothes, and walked out with Long Ocean. Wait? Why can that dog go with you? Luo Mingai pointed at Long Ocean in shock. Yunxi. You dog. This is my pet, Bai Zhen. Of course my pet can leave with me. What? I can go out by being your pet? Then I want to be your pet too. Luo Mingai grabbed the hem of her outer robe and looked at her eagerly. She finally understood. They say that a shameless person is invincible. This guy is indeed invincible. Pulling the hem of her clothes, he stuck to it like glue. She gritted her teeth and said, let go. I can't take adventurers as pets. Luo Mingai was extremely disappointed and squatted on the mushroom. Yunxi said goodbye to the others again, sat on Long Ocean and left here. Long Ocean is indeed a divine beast. It can grow bigger or smaller. When it grows bigger, it is like a lion. It is soft and comfortable to sit on. Yunxi sat for a while, let it grow bigger, and laid down and fell asleep. When they woke up, they were in a dilapidated temple with a fire next to them. Where is this? She looked out. Through the pitch-black night, she could see the dense woods around, but could not find any trace of a town. I don't know. There is a town behind this mountain. We can go ask tomorrow. Yunxi went around to the back and found that there was indeed a small town on the other side of the ruined temple. The town was close to the sea. She was delighted. It was really like a pillow that hit the pillow when you are sleepy. The intelligent brain said that there are creatures in the world of cultivation that have been alive until now. The first person she thought of was the Flower King she met in the Flower Continent. Because so far, in addition to the intelligent brain knowing that she is a soul from another world, only the Flower King said such a thing. Jumping from the seaside will make you dizzy, but it is fast. We will go there tonight. Yunxi took out the food and shared it with Long Ocean, and then asked Long Ocean to become smaller and squat on her shoulder. She used her Qingguang skills and rushed to the seaside quickly. In the night, she was dressed in a white dress and ran forward as fast as the wind. The figure that passed by left only a white light. When a villager got up at night, he saw a white shadow flash by and was so scared that he almost cried on the spot. Grandpa Ghost, spare me. Yunxi vaguely heard someone's voice, but because she was distracted, she didn't hear it clearly. After scanning around and finding that there was no danger, she added a protective shield, hugged Long Ocean with peace of mind, and jumped into the sea without hesitation. After swimming forward for a while, the familiar whirlpool appeared again and rolled her in. Yunxi was a little used to this feeling of rolling in a washing machine, but it was the first time for Long Ocean. When they arrived at the small island, Long Ocean's eyes were full of circles, and he fell to the ground with a thud. Long Ocean, are you okay? She rubbed his head, suppressed the urge to vomit, and comforted him softly. Don't worry, this is how teleportation works. It's a bit dizzy, but you'll be fine when you get used to it. After all, teleportation is really fast, and this little flaw is harmless. Long Ocean just came back to his senses and heard what she said. Actually, I can also take you there by flying. My speed is not slow. It only takes half an hour to get to the next continent, Long Ocean said with some resentment. What? Lu Yunxi's eyes widened. She had lost consciousness when she entered the sea before, but this time she was awake the whole time. She also calculated the time. It took about 20 minutes to roll in the sea. Here comes the problem. Now there are two means of transportation for you to choose. 1. Roll in the sea for 20 minutes to arrive, and the result is dizziness and nausea. 2. Take a plane for 30 minutes to arrive, which is 10 minutes slower than in the sea. Is there any need to think about this? Of course, choose the air route. Next time, you can tell me about this kind of thing earlier. Lu Yunxi twitched her eyes. They sat and rested for 2 hours, and finally they were not so dizzy. Chapter 138 Illusion. After resting for a while and not feeling so dizzy anymore, Lu Yunxi led Long Ocean around the small island. Master, are you looking for something? Long Ocean saw her looking at the ground from time to time, so he also came over. I'm looking for the direction to the flower continent, otherwise we wouldn't know the way. Found it? Lu Yunxi looked at the sign excitedly and rushed over. However, when she just reached the sign, she suddenly found that her side had become quiet. She turned around in confusion, only to find that Long Ocean was still standing there. His ears kept shaking, as if he was listening to something. Lu Yunxi hurriedly waved and shouted, I'm here. However, Long Ocean still didn't look at her. She had no choice but to jump and jump, waving her hands even harder. After a long time, seeing that Long Ocean still didn't respond, she was about to turn around, but saw him suddenly running over. Long Ocean, what happened to you just now? I called you for a long time and you didn't respond. Lu Yunxi wiped the sweat dripping down, with a puzzled look on her face. Master, I just seemed to hear some sound, as if I heard it somewhere before. Long Ocean tilted his head, but maybe it's an illusion. Illusion? Lu Yunxi didn't think so. According to the intelligent brain, after such a long time since the incident in the Xuxin world, the souls of most descendants have been protected, and the ancestors either ascended or died. In such a difficult environment, it is really amazing that someone can survive from the Xuxin world to the present. Did you see that the artifact has gone through such a difficult time, and needs to sleep continuously? It is absolutely amazing that Baiza can be born smoothly. The probability of having an illusion is really too small. Lu Yunxi thought for a while and said, Long Ocean, let's go to the location where you found the sound. Do you remember what this sound is? Long Ocean recalled and walked in a certain direction. I don't remember, I just feel very familiar. It frowned in some distress. It's okay, let's go and take a look first. This will make Long Ocean feel familiar. Maybe it's the big guy who has lived from the Xuxin world to the present? However, the sound only appeared for a short moment, so it just stood there and dared not move. But now there is no sound. Without the guidance of the sound, Long Ocean had a lot of trouble finding it. 2 hours later, after walking all over the small island and finding nothing unusual, Lu Yunxi sat down. I'm so tired, let's take a rest first. Although this place is not big, it is really tiring to find something you don't know. Along the way, they kept staring at things. Even the stones they encountered had to be moved away to take a look, and the trees they encountered were climbed up one by one. A man and a beast sat together, eating weakly. Lu Yunxi even fell asleep halfway through eating. It was Long Ocean who pushed her awake. Master, wake up, what's wrong? Is it dawn? She opened her eyes dazedly and sat up subconsciously, but she didn't expect that she didn't fall asleep lying down, but fell asleep sitting on the ground sideways. The next second, there was only a click. Hiss, my waist. In the clinic, the candlelight was dim. Lu Yunxi lay on the bed with a grin, struggling to sit up. Long Ocean, don't worry, I'm fine, I'm a doctor myself. I know how badly you're injured, however, she said so. But she couldn't get up. It really hurts too much? Don't be stubborn, a doctor can't treat himself. Long Ocean hurriedly held her down, fearing that she would move too much and hurt herself more. The doctor said that it takes 100 days to heal a broken bone. You need to rest for a while. She was a little depressed. No, I'm a grandmaster. How could I still sprain my waist? Even if you are a grandmaster, you are still a human being. You will catch a cold if you should, and it's normal to accidentally sprain your waist. Long Ocean's eyes were a little guilty. Blame me, I would have let you lie down and sleep if I had known, Yunxi. I don't blame you, it's just... So a sprained waist can only be considered a minor illness. She looked at the system prompt and was a little frustrated. In addition to restoring blood, her blood recovery skill can also treat some serious diseases, such as disfigurement. But minor illnesses cannot be cured. For example, she can't cure her waist injury now. She lay on the bed, watching Long Ocean busying around. The sky outside gradually darkened. By the way, you woke me up. Is there something wrong? Yunxi suddenly remembered. I heard that sound again. Long Ocean put the pill next to her and motioned her to eat it. Then what are you waiting for? Let's get going. She was so excited that she forgot about her injuries and was about to sit up, and her waist made another sound. Her eyes were blank for a moment. Long Ocean sighed helplessly, washed his claws, and applied some ointment to her waist. Don't worry, I've confirmed the location before, and I roughly know the location of the sound. I can go anytime, it said gently. She really didn't have the energy to do it anymore, so she let it smear a lot of black ointment on her waist, and quietly closed her eyes, not daring to move. Although it takes 100 days to heal a broken bone, the physical fitness of the master is indeed not to be underestimated. A few days later, she was completely recovered. Yunxi followed Long Ocean and came to the place where the sound came from. Are you sure it's here? Looking at this coast, she was a little confused. There are not only beaches but also reefs on the coast. This coast is full of reefs, and there are many shells densely packed on it, but this kind of place is not popular. Because these shells are sharp and most of them have no flesh, even if there is flesh, you have to be very careful when prying them off. In case you get cut, it will be dangerous. It is indeed here, and it seems to be underground. Long Ocean was not too sure, so he could only draw a rough range. Underground, that is the seabed. Yunxi looked at these reefs, glanced at the sea surface, and pondered. Even if it is really a big boss in the cultivation world who has survived to this day, but living on the seabed, I don't think he is a human, right? The man and the beast discussed it and finally decided that Yunxi would go to the sea to look for it, while Long Ocean would stay on top to look for it. Fortunately, this is a small island. If it were on another continent, you would be swept away if you jumped down. There are only a few protruding corners on the small island that can be teleported, and you will not be sent away if you go to the sea from other coasts. She put on a protective shield for herself and went into the sea. There are many reefs in the sea, and beautiful corals grow randomly. And occasionally fish swim by. According to Long Ocean, Yunxi tried to find creatures that look more special, or eggs and the like. However, there are really too many things in the sea. She thinks this is rare, and that is rare, and she can't put it in the space, so she can only carry it with her hands. Long Ocean said that her space cannot hold living things. It's okay for a short time, but it can't survive for a long time. It didn't take long for her to fish up a lot of things. However, Long Ocean shook his head. The sounds made by these creatures are completely different from what it hears. In this way, time passed slowly as they salvaged. At the end of the day, they only harvested a large amount of food. Yunxi lit the fire, looked at the pile of seafood, and was too lazy to cook more, so she just added water to a pot and boiled it, then cut it into pieces and dipped it in soy sauce. The man and the beast finished eating without knowing the taste, and began to reflect. Could it be that there is some mechanism on the reef? Yunxi suspected. Maybe someone really dug a tunnel there. After all, in the world of cultivating immortals, there are all kinds of methods, and she doesn't believe that there is no very powerful way to dig a tunnel. Long Ocean also tried to recall what exactly made that sound when the man and the beast were thinking about it. Here it comes. That sound comes again. Long Ocean suddenly stood up and walked back and forth anxiously. Its ears moved, and suddenly stopped at a position. It's right below. Yunxi looked at that position and immediately understood. She took out the tools such as shovels and spades she made from her backpack and started to act. Long Ocean had no way to dig the soil, so he could only occasionally spray a little fire below, and he didn't dare to use too much force, for fear of accidentally killing the owner of the sound. The man and the beast were somewhat restrained. Fortunately, Yunxi didn't dig for long before she suddenly found a hole. She dug away the mud and sand on top, revealing a large hole in the middle. What is this? Chapter 139 Little Turtle. Looking at the space below that could accommodate a person, Yunxi jumped down curiously. Long Ocean followed immediately. The man and the beast walked in the passage. However, after only 2 steps, Yunxi heard the system prompt. She entered the dungeon again. Fortunately, Long Ocean followed her indirectly because he was bound to her. The dungeon was very strange. It was clearly in a cave, but suddenly there was seawater all around. The man and the beast stood in the seawater and felt very bad. Why is it designed like this? Don't you know that it is easy to get rheumatism if your feet are always soaked in water? Looking at the seawater up to her knees, Yunxi couldn't help complaining. Be careful, something is coming. As Long Ocean's voice fell, a sea turtle only the size of a palm swam slowly over. Turtle, Yunxi never knew that turtles were such flexible creatures. They paddled freely in the seawater, swaying left and right, and looked clumsy, but with her speed, she couldn't catch up. It was okay at the beginning, but later the arrows were affected by the resistance of the seawater, and they often missed. What's more, the turtle in front of her has changed from one to a pile of turtles. Looking at the seawater that has already covered her shoulders, she shouted, Long Ocean, are you okay? Where are you? This copy is really weird. The seawater can actually rise. And in a closed space. Oh my. Will the whole cave be filled with seawater in the end? After thinking about it, she quickly swam up, and after finding Long Ocean, she quickly put on a few protective shields to separate the seawater. Long Ocean spit out the seawater and hurried to her side. Master, are you okay? I'm fine. Wipe your fur. Don't catch a cold. Yunxi simply opened a large protective shield to cover them all, and then threw a towel to it. She sat down and looked at the countless turtles outside, pairs of eyes looking at them through the protective shield. She felt a little uncomfortable. Trypophobia is about to occur. Who is so talented that he actually made such a ghost copy? Yunxi looked at the pairs of red eyes, densely packed outside, and felt goosebumps all over her body. She hurriedly searched in the space. Found it. She took out a box, which contained the powder she made herself, which was specially used to deal with the guys she couldn't defeat. Before, the zombies were immortal, but they didn't use it. But these turtles are not immortal, right? Yunxi found an unused empty bottle, dissolved the powder with water, changed a bow, soaked the arrows in the medicine, and fired several thousand arrows in a row until the mana was emptied. Only then did she look outside while eating buns. The arrows were really powerful, and most of the dense sea turtles outside were emptied in an instant. Her eyes suddenly lit up, and she continued to fire several more arrows. Only after all the sea turtles outside were emptied did the man and the beast breathe a sigh of relief. However, not long after they sat down to rest, shrimps appeared in the space again. Turtles have no offensive power, but shrimp monsters are different. They have 2 horns on their heads and can actually fire cannons. Master, you take a rest for a while, I'll do this. Long Ocean stood up and sprayed flames crazily outside. However, its flames were too suppressed in the seawater. After a long time of effort, not many shrimp monsters outside were knocked down. Yunxi gnawed the buns lazily, feeling that she was a little tired. Going out to sea to catch shrimps can get delicious shrimps, but here, fighting monsters really only gives experience points, and nothing else will drop. I don't know if it's because she is now a master, but the experience points have not increased. Looking at the unmoved experience bar, she turned off the system panel, quickly filled the blue bar, and joined the battle. After beating the turtle and the shrimp monster, she encountered crabs, octopuses, etc. It was not easy to get through the entire copy, and a day passed. After stuffing the spoils into the space, Yunxi and Long Ocean rested on the spot before walking towards the exit. At this time, the seawater in the cave had disappeared, and the entire cave was dry again. The passage to exit the dungeon was a cave, emitting white light. Long Ocean suddenly stopped and turned to look at the gray-black cave wall next to him. What's wrong? She walked forward puzzled. I have a feeling that there are my kind next door, it said affirmatively. Your kind? Is it also Bizel? Then the sound you heard before was made by it. Yunxi was surprised and happy. She has always been worried that there's only one Bizel left in the world. Would Long Ocean never have a companion of the same species as it in the future? However, Long Ocean shook his head. I just sensed the breath similar to our divine beast, but it is not Bizet. Divine beast, It seems that it is probably from the world of immortal cultivation. Yunxi stood by the cave wall and watched for a while, then took out her weapon and shot an arrow. As a small hole was broken, she clenched her fist and punched it a few times. There was a loud bang. The gray-black rock wall shattered into a ball and fell down, revealing a hole that could accommodate one person. Standing at the entrance of the cave, Yunxi widened her eyes. It's so beautiful. Entering from this hole, there is a very beautiful passage. The surroundings of the passage are transparent, and you can see the dreamy ocean world. There are many small and cute fish hidden in the beautiful corals, and translucent jellyfish swim by, which looks extremely dreamy. Ocean also walked into the passage and looked around. The man and the beast slowly looked at the scenery and walked to the end. At the end of the passage, there is a big door. The outside of the door is entangled with seaweed, and the middle is a blur. Looking out of the door, you can only see a piece of light blue, and you can't see anything else. If I'm not mistaken, this door is a one-way door to the sea. You can't come back once you go out, Ocean observed and guessed. Yunxi and it looked at each other and nodded together. After putting up a protective shield, the man and the beast passed through the door. Outside the door, it was indeed the ocean world they saw, beautiful and dreamy. Ocean sensed it and took her to the side of a huge stone. It's right here. Yunxi walked around the stone and tapped it again, but still couldn't see anything. Just then, a small, familiar figure suddenly appeared in her peripheral vision. Almost instantly, she picked up the bow. Master, wait, Ocean stopped her. She didn't draw the bow. Sorry, I just got used to it while playing the dungeon. Yunxi was stunned for a moment before noticing that the little turtle in front of her was different from the one in the previous dungeon. It looked much cuter than the one in the dungeon. When it looked at her, there was some anger in its eyes, as if it knew that she was going to attack it just now. Ocean walked around the little turtle and nodded in confirmation. It does have the breath of a divine beast. It should be the descendant of Xuanwu. Yunxi looked at the little turtle that was less than the size of a palm and couldn't believe it. Humph, you guys are really degenerate. It is obviously a divine beast, but I don't know which guy recognized it as the master. The little turtle looked at her with disdain and snorted coldly. Yunxi was not angry. After all, she just wanted to kill the other party. She was just a little surprised. Everyone says that turtles are mild-mannered, gentle and tolerant, not the kind of turtles that get angry when you say that. If the master hadn't woken me up, I would have died long ago, Ocean said calmly. As he said that, he looked at the strange big stone. Strange, I seem to feel that this stone has a very strong aura. Why is the aura on you so weak? The turtle seemed a little surprised, looking at Ocean and then at Yunxi. No wonder. It seems that you are not a bad person. I'm sorry, I thought there was danger just now, and I subconsciously raised my weapon. Yunxi took the opportunity to apologize. Humph, it snorted lightly and nodded at them. Come with me. It pressed on the big stone, and the closed big stone suddenly opened a small door. Chapter 140 Goodbye KO. Yunxi and Ocean followed the turtle into the stone. The space inside the stone was much larger than expected, about the size of 4 playgrounds. There were many bookshelves in the western corner, which were piled with various books. There was a low table and several shell chairs in the eastern corner. The other places were empty, probably where the turtle played. Although the little turtle was small, he was very orderly. After letting them sit down, he poured them tea. The tea on the bottom of the sea was made of kelp, not tea leaves. Yunxi and Ocean sat on the shell chairs. Seeing that the turtle was going to make snacks for them, they quickly stopped it. We came to you to ask if your elders left you any news about how to restore the world of cultivation, Ocean asked first. The little turtle was stunned. Why are you asking this? It suddenly thought of something. Its eyes lit up, and stared at Yunxi closely. Are you the legendary ray of hope that can save us? Yunxi twitched his mouth. What the hell is a ray of hope? It sounds weird. But it was beyond her expectation that the little turtle knew about this. After all, Ocean had a bloodline inheritance, but he didn't know about this at all. Ocean was her pet after all, and he quickly saw her doubts, and explained, the turtle is different from me. It was not born recently. It was born in the world of immortal cultivation and has lived until now. What, then why call it a little turtle? It should be called a little old turtle. Yes, although I am still a young man in our clan, I have lived longer than you, the little turtle nodded. When Yunxi was still doubting her life, she saw it go to the bookshelf, opened a mechanism, and took out a tortoise-shell-shaped box. Looking at the strange-shaped box on the table, she was a little curious and wanted to take a look. Unexpectedly, the little turtle suddenly seemed to think of something, and hugged the box in his arms, looking at her vigilantly. "Wait, you have to prove that you are the only hope for this world. What if you are not? Then I gave this thing to the wrong person." She was stunned for a moment, and subconsciously said, "But I don't know if I am." Logically speaking, the intelligent brain came to her door in person, so she shouldn't doubt this. But since there is such a person as the little turtle Hua Wang, it is possible that more than one person has traveled through time. She herself carefully hid her identity, so it is not surprising that others would hide their identities. Could it be that after traveling through time, she would shout that she was a traveler? Isn't this impatient to live? The little turtle looked at her expression, and his originally vigilant eyes relaxed a little. "Do you have a storage bag or storage ring that can be bound to the soul?" Lu Yunxi's heart jumped suddenly. She did bind an infinite space. This is probably a very rare thing. It is a crime to possess a treasure. She doesn't want people to find out that she has such a thing. Usually, in order to prevent anyone from finding out about the problem, she would also bring a small bag and pretend to use it to carry things. Now it seems that the little turtle knows about this, and the intelligent brain also knows about it. Most likely many people know that she has an infinite space in her hands. I wonder if anyone will take a fancy to this treasure and fight for it? The thoughts in her mind were fleeting. Lu Yunxi calmed down and made an expression on her face that said, "What are you talking about? I don't understand." However, the little turtle had already discovered her distraction just now. "It seems that you really have it." It immediately guessed her thoughts, snorted coldly, and there was some disdain on its face. "Really? This is not worth hiding. It's not a big deal. There are many things in your space that my elders prepared." Long A Ocean looked at her somewhat confused expression, and rubbed her with his big head. "Don't worry, the divine beasts are born with their own space, and everyone's space is very large. You won't be in danger because of the space." Lu Yunxi, who was fighting with a turtle in his mind, came back to his senses, first secretly relieved, and then envious. She also needs the seniors in the world of immortal cultivation to help her get a space, and these divine beasts are born with their own space. The little turtle trusts the judgment of the space very much. After knowing that she is bound to the space, he is relieved and hands her the tortoise shell box in his hand. Lu Yunxi carefully took the box, but after looking at it for a long time, he was still confused. "Excuse me, how do I open this? This design was made by our ancestors. I heard that it will open automatically when you need it." The little turtle recalled what the ancestors said and relayed it to her. Looking at the box, she was a little helpless. When is it considered a time of need? Lu Yunxi carefully put the box into the space and asked about immortal cultivation. "You don't need to worry about this. You haven't even reached the Grandmaster level yet. According to the ancestors, when you reach the Grandmaster level in martial arts, you will naturally have a way to cultivate immortals." Lu Yunxi was stunned. "So that's it?" She said. Where should she go to find her way to cultivate immortals? At first, she thought that there might be some residual spiritual energy in some secret realms, and she had to look for it. Who knew that there was a way to break through to the Grandmaster level? "I don't know much about the artifact you mentioned," the little turtle frowned and recalled, "but these divine beasts didn't need any artifact assistance, and they had never paid attention to it." She didn't care. After thanking the little turtle again and again, she took Long A Ocean away. Before leaving, the little turtle reminded her, "Remember to look for it elsewhere. Not only did my elders leave something for you, but the elders of other families also seem to have left something for you." Sitting on Long A Ocean, feeling the breeze blowing slowly, Lu Yunxi thought of the little turtle just now, and still felt incredible. "Long A Ocean, you said that the little turtle has lived for so many years, but it still looks so small." She imagined that a turtle of this age should be at least 1 meter long. "Master, its original body is very big, but because it is too big, it needs a lot of energy to move, so they have to shrink their bodies to save energy. They usually sleep most of the time, so they can barely survive." When Long A Ocean said this, he felt a little sympathetic. It knows this feeling too well. When it was in the egg, it was actually conscious, but as time went by, without spiritual energy, in order to ensure its life, it stopped thinking and stopped moving, and only concentrated all its spiritual energy in its heart to save its life. Both the man and the beast were touched. When they arrived at the flower continent, there was only silence. Lu Yunxi came back to his senses first. She looked at the sea of flowers around her and sighed. When I first came to the flower continent, this was a sea of flowers. It's still like this now. It's really nostalgic. Long Ocean approached and sniffed the sea of flowers here, and was a little surprised. The plants here grow very well. I suspect there are even spiritual herbs? Spiritual herbs? Yes, I feel the breath of spiritual herbs. Long Ocean was a little excited. If possible, can I eat it later? Yunxi was about to agree, and suddenly thought of the king of flowers. If there is anything that may have been passed down from the world of immortal cultivation to the present, she suspected that it was the king of flowers. It really has become a spirit. If it is to eat some other herbs, she doesn't think there's any problem, but what if Long Ocean wants to eat the king of flowers? This is not something she can decide. And a flower that can talk, no one can eat it, right? Let's take a look first. I suspect that the spiritual herbs you are talking about are the king of flowers here. It has spiritual intelligence. If it doesn't have spiritual intelligence, you can eat it. Yunxi patted its head. After saying that, she took out the earrings that Flower King had given her before from her bag. Not far away, the huge flower seemed to sense a familiar breath. The drooping bud slowly rose and bloomed, and the vines next to it also fluttered in the air. Although it was only a moment, both the man and the beast felt a breath and hurriedly followed the direction. Flower King, long time no see. Yunxi stepped forward and hugged Flower King's vine. You're here. Chapter 141 Dips. The tip of the Flower King vine carefully smoothed Yunxi's hair, looking like an elder rubbing her head. Long Ocean looked at the huge flower with some surprise in his eyes. Even in the memory it inherited, it was rare to see plants with intelligence. The Flower King moved, as if looking at Long Ocean, and then looked at her, with a large flower covering her head. You still agreed? The Flower King's voice was a little vicissitudes. Promise what? She was a little confused. Restore the spiritual energy of this world. The Flower King suddenly sighed and retreated to his original position. If you didn't agree to this, you wouldn't come back to find me. Flower King, do you know this? Restoring the world. This is not a trivial matter. This kind of pressure should not be placed on one person. It's a pity that there are not many old bones left in the world of immortal cultivation. The Flower King seemed to be a little emotional, and coiled quietly in place, looking like a flower without lethality. After a long time, it suddenly moved, and a large piece of thick green leaves suddenly appeared in front of it, with many flowers on it. Sit down and taste the flower dew, the Flower King greeted enthusiastically. Its voice was vicissitudes but gentle, full of the breath of time. It spoke slowly and calmly. In the past, the world of cultivation, although Long Ocean and Yunxi had already heard what it said, it had a different flavor when it said it. As for the artifact you mentioned, I know a thing or two. The Flower King paused here, as if laughing, and the flower branches trembled gently. Although it is a divine artifact and sounds very powerful, it has the mind of a child and just wants to run around. It wants to bind to you, not because it has any bad intentions, but probably wants to go out and play, but now it is imprisoned in one place. Imprisoned, but the intelligent brain can disguise and run around, so how can it be imprisoned? Yes, we old guys have lost our spiritual energy, just like a fish without water. The artifact should have been able to run around by itself before, but now it probably has to recognize a master before it can run around. At this point, the Flower King sighed. But if you really don't want to be bound to the artifact, then you don't have to bind it. You can directly transfer the spiritual energy you have cultivated to the world. Yunxi and Long Ocean listened quietly. Suddenly, the Flower King moved his body, and the vine patted his petals. Oh, right. I almost forgot. A long time ago, someone gave me a sachet and said it was for you. She immediately opened her eyes wide. Whether it was from the vicissitudes of life voice or the words that the Flower King said as if he had experienced it personally, they could roughly guess that it itself had survived from the world of immortal cultivation and has lived to this day. Who is it? The Flower King said a long time ago. How long ago was that? And didn't they say that the predecessors in the world of immortal cultivation put everything in the space? If the divine beast did not put the things in the space, it was because it was a different race from humans and it was inconvenient to contact, but the Flower King was talking about a person. The Flower King clattered and drilled into the ground. No one knew where he went. It took a while to climb up. It shook off the dirt on its body and handed her a sachet. This brocade bag contains what that person gave you. That person seems to be a casual cultivator, who said he learned divination. I don't understand these things either, but he said that it will be useful to you if you get it. Hu Wang tried his best to recall what the person said. However, after so many years, it was good enough that it could remember such a thing before. Yunxi hesitated for a moment and opened the brocade bag directly. The brocade bag was originally wrapped in a layer of golden light, but when it fell into her hands, the golden light disappeared instantly, as if it had become an ordinary brocade bag. Even Hu Wang was a little surprised. No one can open this brocade bag. It's strange that you can open it immediately when you hold it in your hand. There was only a piece of paper in the brocade bag. After so many years, this piece of paper is still intact and looks like new. When Yunxi opened the paper and saw the content on it, she covered her mouth in shock. God help her. Look at what is written here. It really is what she needs most now, the way of martial arts. Upgrading from Grandmaster to Grandmaster. After reading this opening, she ignored the beast and flower waiting for her explanation and read on carefully. The entire paper did not contain much content. In fact, it only listed some things for her to do, such as setting up a stall outside to sell tofu, going to the street to provide free medical treatment, etc. As Yunxi read on, she became a little confused until she saw the last paragraph. When you first learn martial arts, you should rely on repeated practice of fighting to grow, and when you reach the Grandmaster level, you need to have an epiphany to continue to break through. To have an epiphany, you need to enter the mortal world to experience the state of mind. Experience the state of mind? After reading this paragraph several times, Yunxi looked at her experience bar that had not increased, and her heart skipped a beat. Epiphany. Just by hearing these two words, you know that this is different from her previous leveling up by hard work. It is probably based on luck, intuition? She couldn't say it, but she still said this method and decided to try it out. Okay. Just stay here and gain experience. I will protect you in everything, the Flower King agreed. I have heard before that humans need to go out and gain experience to advance. Long Ocean also nodded. The most important thing is to enter the lives of ordinary people and live like an ordinary person, so that your state of mind can be improved. It's a pity that our Zeuxan world used to be a very powerful world, and there were many mortal worlds below to go to, but now, the beast and the flower side. Yunxi didn't care. It's the same no matter where you go to gain experience. Selling flowers, Yunxi stood on the street with a basket of flowers, smiling. Sir, buy a bouquet of flowers for the girl you like. The men and women passing by in pairs saw the bright and delicate flowers in her basket, and their faces were a little surprised. The people of the flower continent not only use flowers as dishes, but also have many ornamental flowers that will be bought back by everyone. So there are many people selling flowers on the street. Yunxi also joined in the fun, but she sold very few flowers, and only selected the most beautiful ones from the sea of flowers. She smiled as she watched the children passing by playing and fighting. Compared with other flower sellers, Yunxi was not very enthusiastic, and she focused more on observing others, hoping to find something from them immediately so that she could immediately gain enlightenment and ascend to heaven. Unfortunately, the more anxious she was, the more difficult it would be to deal with this matter. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. When she finally put her mind back on the flower basket, she noticed that it had darkened without her knowing when. Yunxi was about to go home, and after taking 2 steps, she suddenly realized that she had been surrounded by people without knowing when. It stands to reason that the Grandmaster level should be very powerful and can easily sense the surroundings. But everything has its pros and cons. Because she was getting stronger and stronger, she was not so sensitive to danger, just like an elephant would not pay attention to what an ant was doing. It was not until she was surrounded in the alley that she realized that these people were coming for her. Experience, is that what he meant? Yunxi, who was about to ignore them, suddenly had her eyes light up. Hey, young lady, it's so late, why are you walking alone on the street? A man grinned with yellow teeth, his eyes shining, and approached with an evil smile. A group of men around him also whistled. Yunxi stood among a group of hooligans, looking at the level 3 and level 5 above their heads, with a subtle expression. You are being hooligans. However, before she finished her words, another group of men suddenly appeared. Yahoo! There are actually people so bold that they stop girls on the street openly. This is the first time I've seen it, one of the big men laughed. Unlike this group of men who were obviously gangsters, this group of men were tall and strong, with strong muscles and very strong. When this group of people stood aside, the gangsters were startled and trembled like little chickens. Before Lu Yunxi could react, the gangsters who originally wanted to take advantage of the opportunity were scared away by the group of big men who came behind. Thank you guys for saving me. Chapter 142 Sold. Lu Yunxi was very grateful. Although she was not afraid of running into gangsters, if it was another girl who ran into this, she would probably have been scared. I don't have anything good. I picked these flowers myself. I'll give them to you. She suddenly had an idea and thought of the people in the flower continent's love for flowers, so she handed them the basket of flowers. Haha, little girl, you don't have to be so polite. Several men came over with a laugh and took the basket of flowers. However, just as both sides were being polite, a handkerchief suddenly covered her mouth and nose. Lu Yunxi? When the handkerchief covered her mouth, she subconsciously wanted to struggle. However, when she felt a drug on the handkerchief that was enough to knock out an elephant, a light flashed in her eyes, and she suddenly gave up struggling and closed her eyes. After she fainted, a burst of wild laughter rang out on the empty street. If someone heard this echo of laughter for a long time in the middle of the night, they probably thought there was a ghost and would not dare to come out to check. I just came out to have some fun, but I didn't expect to run into such a good girl. This woman is so pretty, isn't she? Boss, can you let me go first? No. Forget about such a good girl. You can get a lot of money if you sell her. After selling this woman, it will be enough for the brothers to live in Fenggayu Tower for a month or two. Can't you play with any girl you want? The big man who was called the boss looked down at Lu Yunxi and immediately refused. The man who proposed looked at Lu Yunxi with some regret, but soon became excited again. As he said, a group of people winked at each other. Two of the men carried Lu Yunxi and walked deep into a small alley. As they walked, they were still talking and laughing. Did you hear it just now? This woman actually said thank you brothers for saving me. One of the men who carried her laughed. She definitely didn't expect that, did she? We are not the ones who saved her life, we are the ones who wanted her life. The people around couldn't help laughing wildly. I didn't expect there are such stupid people. Think about how much trouble we had to go through to catch people before. Stupid Lu Yunxi. She went. It was because these guys were too weak. That's why she was not prepared. And when these people took action, there was no murderous intent, no tension, no guilt, and the movements were too natural. It was as if they had done it 1,000 times. So until the handkerchief covered her face, she realized something was wrong. A group of people carried Lu Yunxi to a very remote alley like carrying a wild boar. Just now, they took a winding road and turned nearly 30 or 40 corners. Even Lu Yunxi couldn't remember the way. At the end of this remote and narrow alley, with a lot of chicken and duck shit on the ground, several people knocked on the door. Who is it? A woman's roar came from inside. It's me. The fish at home are fat, so I brought you one, the leader of the group said in a low voice. The door creaked open. A plump woman poked her head out of the room, looked at the man, and was stunned when she saw Lu Yunxi, then forced a smile. Come in. The men carried Lu Yunxi and squeezed into the small courtyard. The woman twisted her handkerchief, came to Lu Yunxi, frowned and looked at her carefully. Mom, don't you think this girl is good? She is much prettier than the girls in your building. Even the top girl in your building may not be as good as this girl. The boss showed Lu Yunxi's face from all angles, up and down, left and right, as if he was promoting the pork he was selling, and finally pinched her mouth, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. This girl is really good looking, but she's too old. The woman was secretly satisfied, but she didn't show it on her face. At her age, I don't know how long it will take for her to be trained. What if she still doesn't succeed after several years of training? Would that be a big loss? Seeing the woman's worried look, the man next to her wanted to sell her at a lower price, but was immediately stopped by their boss. Mom, just be quick. This girl is so good looking. If you don't want her, you can just give her to us brothers to play with. The boss' eyes flashed with a gleam, and he smiled. The man next to him, who had been drooling over her for a long time, immediately lit up his eyes, stood up and rubbed his hands in an instant. Okay. Boss, such a beautiful girl, it's better to leave it to us. A few people who understood that they were bargaining twitched their mouths and pulled the men who were ready to move. The two sides looked at each other. After a long time, the woman laughed and said, how about this? You want to find a girl to accompany you? We have many girls in Fenggayu building. I'll let a girl accompany you for one night. This girl, you can give me a discount, how about it? The men exchanged glances with each other and argued with the woman. About 10 minutes later, the two sides finally agreed on the price. In this way, Lu Yunxi was sold to a place called Fengaiyu Building. When Lu Yunxi opened her eyes, she was still a little confused. The messy spider webs were coiled above, and it was obvious that the owner of the house had not cleaned it for a long time. She resisted the urge to clean it up and looked away. "Are you awake?" A tender female voice suddenly came from the side. She turned her head and saw a little girl with two buns looking at her with a smile, her big round eyes full of amazement. Lu Yunxi supported her forward and slowly sat up. She remembered. She was sold by a group of men. At that time, she was too sleepy, and fell asleep after sprinkling some medicine powder on the guys. Who knew that she would wake up in such a shabby place? Looking at the bumpy ground, the dusty walls, and the spider webs that were almost piled up above her head, she got out of bed carefully, but found that when she moved, the bedboard creaked and shook violently, accompanied by a panicking sound. Her expression was a little subtle, and she paused her movement stiffly, fearing that the bedboard would collapse in the next second because of her movements. "Where is this? Is this the legendary Fengaiyu Tower? It's really special." The little girl smiled and replied, "This is Fengaiyu Tower." At this time, Lu Yunxi's one leg was stiff on the bed, and one leg seemed to stretch down. Both hands supported the bedboard, and she remained motionless in this position on the bed. The little girl seemed a little confused. "What's wrong with you? Did you twist your waist?" "No, it's just, getting up slowly is good for your health." Lu Yunxi lowered her voice and tried to climb out of bed little by little. "Good. It's almost successful." Just when she was about to laugh, bang cracked a worn-out bedboard, finally couldn't support her movements, and broke into pieces in an instant. Lu Yunxi fell directly to the ground, and the wooden board under her buttocks shattered all over the ground. Fortunately, she is a master and won't be injured. She twitched her eyes and crawled out of the pile of rotten wood with difficulty. "Girl, are you okay?" The little girl stared at the scene in amazement. It took her a long time to come back to her senses and said a little at a loss. Lu Yunxi waved her hands and patted the dust on her body. "I'm fine. By the way, where were we just talking about?" Seeing her agile movements, the little girl was relieved and introduced with a smile. "Speaking of our Fengaiyu Tower, you can rest today when you just arrived, and you will start work tomorrow, so if you have any problems, you must solve them today." She looked at the little girl in confusion, and was a little suspicious about what this Fengaiyu Tower was doing. When she first heard the name and the tone of the woman who bought her, she thought this was some kind of brothel. Who knew it was so dark here? If it was really a brothel, it would be haunted. It's more like a haunted house. However, after the little girl explained it to her, she realized that this was really a brothel. The street they were on was full of brothels, and Fengaiyu Building was the closest to the outside. After hearing the introduction, Lu Yunxi twitched her eyes and said, "I was caught and sold here. Can I leave?" The little girl was startled and her face turned pale. She quickly looked around, then carefully lowered her voice and approached her. "Don't say such things. If Mom hears, you will be beaten." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 Cook. Those of us who have just come in, whether we were trafficked or sent here by our families, cannot leave Fengaiyu Tower. Unless you arrive at Changsan, you cannot leave. At this point, the little girl's eyes were a little depressed. Lu Yunxi did not pay attention to her words, but stared straight at the system panel in the air. The experience bar that had not moved for a long time actually rose a little. Although it was only a small amount, it was also progress. She was overjoyed and carefully recalled what had happened in the past few days. I remember that when she was selling flowers, the experience bar still did not rise. Was it because she was knocked unconscious? Was she sold? Or? She suddenly looked up and looked at the little girl beside her, revealing a big bad wolf-like smile. She sat down cross-legged and patted the empty space beside her. Come sit next to me, let's chat." The little girl's name is Linger. She was sold to Fengaiyu Tower by her family a year ago and is now doing odd jobs in the building. The building is roughly divided into girls who receive guests and other staff. The girls who receive customers are divided into 5 levels, from high to low. They are courtesan, bookkeeper, changsan, yaoer, and barmaid. When you reach the changsan level, you can go out, and other staff members include handymen, cooks, thugs and maids. Among them, only cooks and thugs can go out, and others are not allowed to go out. Then I want to be a thug, is it okay? After thinking for a while, Yunxi asked silently. She is so good in every aspect, so why not do the easiest jobs for her? No, the old brothel owner who just came and heard this and shouted immediately. Mom, Linger was startled, stood up nervously, clasped her hands together nervously, and looked at the old brothel owner carefully. The old brothel owner glanced at her and waved her hands impatiently. You go out first. Linger glanced at Yunxi worriedly, motioned her to be obedient, and then walked out uneasily. When only Yunxi and the old brothel owner were left in the room. The woman who bought Yunxi had a cold face and some coldness in her eyes. Since you are already here, then you should stay here peacefully and don't think about going out. If I find out that you are running away, don't blame me. No. Of course I won't go out. Yunxi looked at the rising experience bar, and there was a wolf light in her eyes. The madam? She was a little surprised, wondering if the little girl in front of her was deliberately deceiving her, wanting her to relax her vigilance, but no matter how she looked at it, she could only see full of sincerity and desire. Okay, you will be a chores for the time being, the madam thought for a while. Starting tomorrow, you will go to the front hall to clean up in the morning, and learn piano, chess, calligraphy and painting in the backyard in the afternoon. Is that okay? Piano, chess, calligraphy and painting? Yes. If you want to be a superior person and live a good life, you must study hard. If you don't learn well, don't blame me for sending you to those dirty places. After repeated warnings, the madam left coquettishly. After that, Linger took her to where the chores lived. In order to encourage everyone to strive and fight, the things used at each level of Fengaiyu building are different. As a handyman, Yunxi lives in a place similar to where she wakes up. It is shabby enough, but it is a big bunk bed. With each level up, the food, clothing and living conditions will be better. Of course, she doesn't care about these. As long as it can help her level up, it's fine. In the early morning, before the sun has fully risen, Yunxi was pulled up. First, she went to the hall to clean up the tables, chairs, dishes and the floor. After a long time of hard work, it was finally time to eat. She strode into the kitchen. New here? Why are you here so late? There's nothing to eat now. The cook glanced at her. How about this? I have another vegetable dumpling here. If you want it, you can take it. I heard that there is a newcomer, so I specially left it for you. How about it? Are you touched? Yunxi looked at the vegetable dumpling in front of her, which had rolled on the ground for who knows how many times, was covered with mud and had a big bite, and her expression was a little weird. She said nothing and silently took the vegetable dumpling. Then, Yunxi pinched the cook's chin with one hand, threw the vegetable dumpling into her mouth with the other hand, and then quickly pinched her chin tightly to prevent her from spitting it out. I didn't even have breakfast, and I gave you the only vegetable dumpling. How about it? Are you touched? She said with a smile. The cook's eyes widened, and she grabbed her hand tightly, trying to break free from her shackles, but her veins were bulging, and she couldn't get rid of this hand that was stronger than steel. Seeing that she swallowed it, Yunxi let go of the hand holding her chin and smiled gently. Don't you know that there is no food for me yet? The cook panted, touched her neck that still felt painful, and looked at her in disbelief. Yes. Wait a minute. After that, she lowered her head, covered the hatred in her eyes, and began to cook silently. Yunxi smiled with relief, found a place to sit down, closed her eyes and waited. The cook who was picking vegetables with her head down suddenly looked up and looked at the person with closed eyes, and she was ready to move. She carefully picked up the rolling pin on the chopping board and walked over step by step. She was in front of Yunxi, but she didn't notice it. The cook was overjoyed and raised the rolling pin to hit Yunxi on the head. However, her hand was suddenly grabbed, and the familiar feeling of being unable to move appeared again. Alice, why do you want to fight? You couldn't move my hand at all just now. Don't you realize that I am very strong? Yunxi opened her eyes and sighed helplessly. She is just an ordinary handyman now, and she doesn't want to show that she is so extraordinary. Huh? If you have the ability to make me angry, you have the ability to never eat the food I cook for the rest of your life. Let me see what you can do. The cook looked at her with resentment on her face and spit fiercely. You are just a newcomer. Do you really think you can do whatever you want just because you are beautiful? As she said that, she picked up the broom again, wanting to fight Yunxi for another 300 rounds. Yunxi was a little confused. What's wrong with this cook? Why does she look so hateful towards her? She blocked the attack casually. After a few punches, she beat the cook severely and then walked around the kitchen. Oh, look what I found. There are sweet and sour spare ribs, braised chicken, mashed yam, pork with preserved vegetables, so many delicious dishes. She took out all the dishes with a smile, found an empty space for herself, and began to taste them happily. Stop, the cook's face changed drastically. These are all dishes for my mother. If you eat her dishes, you're doomed. The cook was really scared. She just heard a girl she was good friends with say that she wanted to teach the newcomer a lesson, but she didn't know that the newcomer was a thorn. If she had known that this was going to be a tough job, why would she have made things difficult for him? Thinking that she was about to lose her job, the cook was overwhelmed with grief and tears fell. Why are you crying? Can't you just do it again? Yunxi raised her eyebrows when she ate a blue dish. Woo, but the meat for today has been used up. The cook rushed to her and hugged her legs with tears streaming down her face. Auntie, please don't eat it all, otherwise my mother will definitely kick me out, please. I have an 80-year-old mother and a 3-year-old child, and they are waiting for me to support the whole family. As long as you're kind enough to help me, I will definitely obey you in the future, and I will do whatever you want me to do. Yunxi pulled her legs, but failed to pull them out, feeling a little helpless. In the end, she didn't make things difficult for the cook. After all, she occasionally needed someone to help her find out some news. Fortunately, the cook was not pretending to be obedient, but really wanted to be her little brother. In the days that followed, with the help of this cook, Yunxi's meals were always very good. Originally, the servants could only eat some vegetable dumplings, grain buns, and some side dishes, but the cook was also the person in charge of shopping, and she secretly left a lot of good dishes for Yunxi every time. Especially when the courtesans and madams ordered birds' nests, sea cucumbers and the like, Yunxi would also have one. That day, Yunxi came to the kitchen a little later than the others as usual, but suddenly saw a few little girls wiping their tears and leaving the kitchen carefully. Chapter 144 Miss Fengson. Yunxi looked at the little girls wiping their tears as they walked by, feeling somewhat bewildered. Master Bao, I see many people are late today, what's going on? Usually when she came here, everyone would have finished their meals. The earlier you arrive, the more choices you have, so no one will be late for meals. Girl, you're here? Someone ordered a portion of stir-fried pig intestines today, and I left a large portion for you. The cook smiled when she saw her. After carefully bringing out the warm dishes, she thought of her question. You said there were little girls crying? She sighed, a glimmer of pity in her eyes. These little girls probably don't please the customers. I'm afraid they will be sold. Sold? Yunxi paused with her chopsticks. How could it be? I think there are not enough people in Fengaiyu Tower. Girl, you don't know that every 3 months, my mother will sell those girls who are not so good, and then buy a batch back. Master Bao looked a little reluctant. I don't know where these girls will be sold to. Maybe in the mountains, maybe those. Yunxi frowned, feeling a little uncomfortable. She hurriedly finished her meal and came to the hall. The news she heard from Master Bao made her a little depressed, and she didn't even want to take a nap. While sitting lazily, a little girl in pink holding a box passing by suddenly exclaimed. After the snapping sound, Yunxi turned her head and saw that the box in the little girl's hand was broken all over the floor. The box contained some scattered silver ornaments and had flowers. Are you okay? She hadn't finished her words. The pink-dressed girl opposite her suddenly looked up and glared at her with resentment. Why did you push me on purpose? If it weren't for you, the girl's jewelry box wouldn't have been broken. Yunxi? She looked at the distance between the pink-dressed girl and herself, and was silent for a moment. How could a person who is nearly 1 meter away from her hide her? Shameless? The pink-dressed girl stomped her feet, her eyes reddened, and she lowered her head with a sad look on her face. What should I do now? This is Miss Fengson's treasure, and now it's all broken. Miss Fengson. Yunxi's lips suddenly curled up with a playful smile. Originally thought it was just an ordinary hit, but after hearing this familiar name, she realized that something was wrong. She took 2 steps forward and carefully observed the broken silver ornaments on the ground. She found that these marks were not broken on the spot, but had been worn out. I am afraid that they were waiting for this fall. Tisk tisk. The fraud hider. Yunxi's lips curled up with a strange smile. On the first day she came, the kitchen chef Bao made things difficult for her. It was said that he listened to Miss Fengson's instructions. It was really strange. As for this Miss Fengson, she had never even met her. Why was she so persistent in making things difficult for herself? Yes, you are dead, the pink-dressed girl glared at her fiercely. You are at chores, you broke Miss Fengson's things, you can't afford to pay for it even if you sell yourself. After that, she put the things in the box into the intact box and carefully took it back. At dinner in the evening, Master Bao secretly told her when no one was around, Miss Fengson just sent someone here again, saying that I should not give you food. I don't know if she has told other people to make trouble. Many people in the building have a good relationship with Miss Fengson, so you should be careful. Yunxi nodded, indicating that she knew. But she didn't take it too seriously. As for the martial arts value of Fenggayu building, she was not worried even if Fengson knew many people. However, the next day, she realized that Miss Fengson's popularity was not an empty talk. When Yunxi was cleaning during the day, some people would take the opportunity to make trouble, such as throwing some garbage on the ground. When she went to practice skills such as piano, chess, calligraphy, painting, singing and dancing in the afternoon, the other masters were fine, but the master in charge of teaching dance suddenly became very bad to her. Your waist is thick and ugly, and you can't twist it. You are really stupid, you need to use your strength to dance. You need to be gentle when you need to be gentle, and use strength when you need to be strong. How can you be so stupid that you don't even understand this? I have never seen anyone as stupid as you. You can learn such a simple thing like this. With your appearance, there is no one uglier than you. I don't know what your mother is thinking, letting you stay here, after being criticized by the dance master for her appearance, figure, movements, strength. Even Yunxi was aroused. She looked at the advanced dance skills that had reached the top on her panel, and then looked at the dance master's intermediate dance skills, with a subtle look in her eyes. Her dance was indeed not perfect, but it was much better than that of the dance master. Yunxi was a little curious. After asking around, she soon found out that the dance master's attack on her was related to Miss Fengson. It turned out that Miss Fengson was the most proud disciple of the dance master. Miss Fengson was able to be promoted to the 3rd level of Chang because of her moving dance. In a dance competition, Fengson won 1st place, and her fame spread throughout the city in an instant, and the dance master also benefited from it. The dance master treated Fengson as his own baby, and from then on, he only obeyed her. Yunxi was actually quite curious, and she didn't know what Fengson said to the dance master, so that the dance master was so devoted to helping her. She planned to talk to the dance master. Sir, I know you have been making things difficult for me these days because of Fengson's instructions. Yunxi smiled confidently, but if you want to become famous, my dance is better than Fengson's, and it will bring you more benefits. Why don't you cooperate with me? The person in charge of teaching dance had a strange look in his eyes, but refused without hesitation. No matter how Yunxi tempted, the dance master was unmoved. Who do you think you are? You are just a little smart. Do you really think you are unparalleled in the world? What's the use of your little dance? The dance master sneered. Seeing that the dance master was stubborn and persistent in causing trouble for her, Yunxi was also annoyed. At night, she secretly came to the dance studio and beat the other person up. The dance master looked at her in disbelief, covering his body that was sore from being beaten. How is this possible? What is your purpose in sneaking into our Fenggayu building? Yunxi frowned. What do you mean by sneaking into Fenggayu building? It sounds so ugly. Obviously, I was sold to Fenggayu building by a kidnapper. I don't believe it. You are so good at fighting, there must be a conspiracy. The dance master fell to the ground, his body trembling slightly, and he used both hands to try to get up. No, I want to tell my mother. Yunxi paused, opened the system and looked at the experience bar that had increased a little bit, and his face became cold. It was not easy to increase the experience value here, but this guy actually wanted to harm her. If she leaves here, how can she become stronger? Thinking of this, she suddenly smiled and reached out to the wall. The hard wall was like tofu, and she instantly broke a large piece of it. Are you sure you want to tell others? The dance master's pupils trembled, and he gasped, looking at this scene in disbelief, and even his breathing almost stopped for a moment. When she was beaten just now, she knew that this person was very strong, but she didn't expect him to be so strong. The wall was softer than tofu in her hands. Is she still a human being? After solving the problem of the dance master finding fault, other people who made trouble were also beaten up by Yunxi one by one. Of course, Violence is not the only way to solve problems. But for her, why should she bother to solve problems that can be solved easily? However, these troublemakers were solved, but there was still Fengxian. In order to make her life easier and happier in the future, Yunxi came to the second floor without hesitation, wanting to meet this Fengxian girl. However, when she walked to the door, she was stopped. The one who blocked the door was the pink-dressed girl who had tried to scam her before. Stop. Do you, the servants, dare to trespass into Miss Fengxian's room? The pink-clothed girl didn't recognize Yunxi at first. After several seconds, she frowned and said, "It's you. You broke all of Miss Fengxian's jewelry. Are you here to apologize?" Chapter 145 Stranger. Yunxi raised her eyebrows and smiled. "Yes, I am here to apologize to Miss Fengxian." The pink-clothed girl snorted coldly and glanced at her lightly. "You wait here. I'll ask if the girl is willing to see you." After that, she knocked on the door behind her and entered after getting permission. However, when the pink-clothed girl was about to close the door, she found that the door was suddenly blocked by a hand. The hand was harder than iron and could not be pushed. Yunxi supported the door with one hand, with a gentle smile on her face, and pushed the pink-clothed girl into the door with the other hand. With a click, the door was locked. The pink-clothed girl panicked and pretended to be calm. "You, what are you doing?" At this moment, a soft voice came from the inner room. "Xianger, who are you talking to?" Yunxi raised her eyebrows and walked into the house with Xianger. There were many gauze curtains hanging in the room, making the whole space full of ambiguity, but they were all pulled open by Yunxi. The whole space suddenly became transparent. "It's me, Miss Fengxian." Yunxi let go of the person in her hand, pulled a chair and sat down. "Don't you always ask people to care about me? I'm especially grateful for you coming." She looked at Fengxian's face and raised her eyebrows secretly. Fengxian's appearance is not outstanding, it can only be said to be pretty. Compared with other people of the same level in the building, it is completely incomparable. But her popularity is surprisingly good. Fengxian was stunned for a moment, and saw that her eyes were full of strangers. "Who are you?" Xianger quickly leaned close to Fengxian's ear and reminded, "Miss, this is the person you asked me to cause trouble for her before." Fengxian blinked and suddenly realized, "So you are the newcomer." At this point, she was stuck. What was the name of the newcomer she asked someone to cause trouble for? Xianger reminded again, "Kinger." "Fengxian, Miss Kinger? What do you want to talk to me about?" When Yunxi heard Miss Kinger, she didn't react for a moment, and it took a while for her to remember. "Isn't Kinger the name given to her by the madam?" Yunxi raised her eyebrows, crossed her arms and leaned back, and said sarcastically, "You always have people causing trouble for me. What do you think I want from you?" Unexpectedly, Fengxian had been causing trouble for her, but now she seemed to be completely unaware of it, and even looked innocent. As she spoke, Yunxi pulled out a wicked smile, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. Fengxian's eyes flashed, and her face was innocent. "Kinger, I don't know what happened, but I think you misunderstood." "Actually Yunxi's expression was cold. "Is it a misunderstanding? After so many days, doesn't she know? It's okay for someone to cause trouble because of Fengxian once or twice, but in just a few days, there have been no less than dozens of times. If this is a misunderstanding, she will directly take Fengxian's surname." She sneered, not caring about what Fengxian said, and instantly took out a fire stick and put it on Fengxian's neck. At this time, she regretted it a little. The bow she was used to was not suitable for being placed on someone else's neck. "I should have prepared some swords or knives that looked domineering. I would have been more powerful when I took them out. I don't care why you want to attack me." Yunxi quickly pulled back her thoughts, her eyes became cold and deep. "If there is a next time, don't blame me for being rude." Her tone was faint, as if a ghost was speaking, with a sense of ethereality. Fengxian and Xianger swallowed subconsciously. After a long while, the panic in their hearts was slightly relieved. Xianger widened her eyes and said angrily, "Are you crazy? You are just at chores, and our girl is already a girl of the 3rd grade, and can have a few maids under her. Aren't you afraid that we will ask Mom to transfer you to the girl? Don't think your life is too hard when the time comes." After saying these threatening words, she glared at Yunxi with a warning. Fengxian glanced at the fire stick against her throat, her lips curled up, and she said in a calm tone, "Xianger, don't talk nonsense. Kinger is a smart person. She will not do anything that is not good for herself." "That's right. If Kinger still wants to live in the building, it's better not to cause trouble." Otherwise the courtesans will have a bad impression of you." Xianger covered her mouth and laughed, with mockery in her eyes. The two of them stood there confidently, and their words became more and more excessive, as if they were sure that Yunxi would not dare to do anything to them. Seeing that the two of them were running wildly on the road to death, what could Yunxi do? Of course, she would help them. She lowered her hand calmly, and the fire stick was slowly put down. Xianger laughed even louder, her eyes full of mockery and contempt, and she looked straight at Yunxi. Fengxian also covered her mouth gently and glanced at her lightly. Yunxi raised his hand again with an expressionless face, in the surprised and puzzled eyes of the two. Swish, the fire stick was swung towards the table next to it, with a sound of breaking through the air. After a few clicks, the table broke into pieces and fell to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Fengxian and Xianger's faces changed, and their pupils were shaking as they watched this scene. If they hadn't supported each other, they would have fallen to the ground because of weak legs. You, Fengxian spoke tremblingly, and her voice was trembling. Xianger was so scared that she almost fainted. The table in Fengxian's room was not made of wood, but a solid stone table. There was a guest who particularly liked this kind of stone table, so she specially asked someone to move it in. When it was moved in, it took 4 men to lift the stone table together. If she were to poke it, the stone table would not only break, but it would be amazing for her to scratch it. Yunxi smiled slightly and repeated what they had said before. "I think both girls are smart people, and they won't do anything that is bad for themselves, right? Miss Kinger is right." Fengxian looked at Xianger, who was frightened and fainted beside her, and secretly envied her. Xianger got rid of the predicament, but she hated that she couldn't faint, so she could only force herself to communicate with this terrifying woman. "Do you have any instructions?" Yunxi sat back in the only chair in the room with exquisite carvings, and smiled faintly. "Tell me. Why do you want to deal with me?" Fengxian's forehead was covered with cold sweat. "It's a long story," she secretly complained in her heart. She thought that with her current status, it would not be a problem to embarrass a newcomer. At most, she would be warned a few words after being discovered by her mother. Who knew that this newcomer was really a tough guy? If she had known that this girl was so powerful, she would never embarrass such a strong person no matter what she said. "It doesn't matter, I have plenty of time, you can talk slowly." Yunxi pulled the corner of his lips and looked at her meaningfully. Fengxian gritted her teeth and finally told the truth. "Miss Kinger, I'm sorry. Someone I know asked me to embarrass you." I won't do it again." Yunxi was a little confused. Only after Fengxian explained did she know what was going on. Back to the day when Yunxi was dizzy by the drug, the group of big men sold her to the Madam of Fenggayu Tower. Not only did they get a large sum of money, but they were also able to play with the girls of Fenggayu Tower and get a very favorable price. That night, the group of men didn't call the girls in the end. They left Fenggayu Tower in the middle of the night and contacted me to embarrass you. Fengxian was a little embarrassed when she said this. They probably took their anger out on me because I don't know what bad things happened to them on the night you were sold. They looked very bad when they left. The group of men helped me once before, so I agreed to embarrass you. I'm sorry. Miss Kinger." Fengxian laughed dryly and apologized quickly, fearing that Kinger would remember it. Yunxi's expression was a little subtle. She probably knew why the men were so angry, because she had drugged them, which would make them impotent. The men who originally wanted to find a girl suddenly became impotent, and they must be terrified and panicked. Fengxian said that she was venting her anger, but it wasn't entirely true. After all, they suddenly became impotent because of her. However, the most surprising thing was that Fengxian would trade with the men. Chapter 146 Linger crying secretly. "Miss Kinger, don't worry. The next time those people come to me, I will definitely tell you. I swear I will never hurt anyone with them again." Seeing Yunxi's expressionless face, Fengxian gritted her teeth and swore. Yunxi's expression eased a little. "Okay, I won't make things difficult for you this time, but you have been causing trouble for me before, you have to compensate me." Fengxian's face changed, and she regretted it so much that she almost burst into tears on the spot. She agreed to that group of men not only because they helped her once by chance, but also because they paid. But she will definitely lose money this time. People like Kinger are not easy to mess with at first glance, and she doesn't know how much she has to pay to make them completely calm down. "You are right." She gritted her teeth and forced a smile. "How much do you think I should compensate you?" Yunxi smiled faintly. I don't need your money, but you have to tell me any news you can get. Looking at the furnishings here, you can see that Fengxin has not saved much in these years, and she can't pay much money. It's better to let her, who has been in Fenggayu Tower for many years, provide her with some information. Fengxin was stunned, and then repeatedly assured, Miss Kinger, don't worry, I will send you any news I can get. After solving Fengxin's problem, Lu Yunxi got along well in Fenggayu Tower. However, she was happy for only 2 days. When she went back to her room to rest that day, she found Linger hiding in the quilt and crying secretly. If it weren't for her sensitive 5 senses, she might not have noticed it. Although her residence is a large bunk bed, due to the current shortage of staff, in fact, only she and Linger actually live here. Seeing Linger hiding in the quilt like a silkworm, Lu Yunxi wanted to comfort her, but she stopped before she walked to her side. Linger was crying secretly. Maybe she didn't want to be discovered? After thinking about it, Lu Yunxi had to pretend that she didn't see it. If she were in her own emotional breakdown, she wouldn't want anyone to see it either. It's so embarrassing. I'd better wait 2 days until Linger is in a better mood, and then go and ask her. However, many things are always unexpected. Before Lu Yunxi had time to find Linger to find out the situation, she got the news that Linger was going to be sold. That day, after class, she hurried back to her room. Linger was silently crying while packing her things. Although she said she was packing things, in fact, these beddings could not be taken away, and they had to be left for the next girl to come in, and the only thing that really belonged to her was a gray linen skirt. Looking at Linger's red eyes, Lu Yunxi's heart sank. Linger, what are you doing? She was a little worried. Generally speaking, being able to leave a place like Fenggayu Tower is something that many people dream of. But Master Bao told her that the trafficker and the madam had already negotiated it. Generally, those who were sold by the madam went to worse places. It was almost impossible to go to a better place. Linger cried miserably, probably because she knew this. Lu Yunxi was a little at a loss, and really didn't know how to comfort her, so she racked her brains to think. Kinger, don't worry about me, I'm fine. Linger wiped her tears, sniffed, and forced a smile. Maybe I can go to work for a rich family. I heard that the food in rich families is very good, maybe I can even eat meat. After that, she rummaged through her cabinets and under the bed, took out 2 copper coins and handed them to her. If I go to work for a rich family, I won't need money. This is the money I saved before, you can keep it. Taking the 2 copper coins, Lu Yunxi lowered her head and rubbed them. This copper coin has been worn out because it is often rubbed by people, but it is very clean. It can be seen that the owner of the copper coin cherishes it very much and often wipes it with a cloth. Lu Yunxi felt a little heavy. When she came here, whether it was the man who abducted her before or the people from Fenggayu Tower, they were actually no match for her, so she always felt like watching a show. But when something really happened, she felt unhappy. Linger, is there no way? Can't I sell you? Or after you are taken away by the human traffickers, I will have someone secretly buy you. Linger was a little surprised and shook her head and said, it's useless. It takes a lot of money to buy people, and the human traffickers that my mother found are specially found by my mother. They will sell us to a very far place. She has been here for so many years, and she has only saved 2 copper coins, not to mention Kinger who has just been here for a short time. Lu Yunxi lowered her head and pondered. That afternoon, the girls who were to be sold this time gathered in the hall, their eyes full of confusion and fear about the future. However, before the traffickers came to pick them up, they received news that a madam was sick somewhere in the backyard of Fenggayu Tower, in a magnificent courtyard. A group of girls with different styles gathered together, whispering something, and their eyes occasionally swept across the room. The girls had different expressions, some were full of gloating, some were a little worried, and some had facial expressions. But no matter what their expressions were, they were secretly relieved. Especially those girls who were going to be sold. Let them get through today. Even if they were to be sold, it would be a matter of a few days. Just when the girls were thinking different things, the heavy wooden door with the gorgeous gold edges was pushed open. The leading courtesan immediately stepped forward, a trace of sadness flashed across her brows, and asked, Doctor, how is my mother? The old doctor who came out touched his beard and said, she may have caught a cold, so she feels so cold. Let her cover herself with more quilts and sweat a little. She will be fine, then, she doesn't need to take medicine. The courtesan was a little surprised. The old doctor shook his head and left without saying much. Everyone Although everyone remained silent, everyone understood in an instant. Although Fengyu Tower does not make as much money as the best buildings, the girls inside are also very good. It can be said that they make a lot of money every day, but the madam is very reluctant to spend money. Even for the level of the courtesan, the food itself is good, but it is just good. If you really want to eat abalone, ginseng tripe, you still have to pay the cook to buy it, otherwise the kitchen itself can't afford it. Even if the madam herself is sick, she is unwilling to spend money to buy medicine. In the evening, Yunxi returned to the room and saw Linger's expression of relief and anxiety. She smiled and comforted him. Linger, you can rest assured now. It usually takes 7 or 8 days to recover from a cold. I'll go out and ask if there is anyone. However, before she finished speaking, Linger took a breath of cold air and quickly reached out to cover her mouth. Linger looked around anxiously, and when she was sure that there was no one around, she patted her hand and glared at her. You dare to say anything? You are so stupid. Don't tell anyone about it. If you are found out, I can't help you. Yunxi raised the corners of his lips and said in a subtle tone, don't worry, because the problem with the madam was not a cold, but she had given her medicine. This medicine has no effect on the body. On the contrary, after taking this medicine, the body will be uncomfortable for a short time, but then the body will be recuperated and become much healthier. But the magic of this medicine is that this period of discomfort is not 7 or 8 days at all, but starts from 3 months. That is to say, for at least 3 months, the madam would suddenly feel uncomfortable here and there, and would not have time to manage things at all. At this time, Yunxi smiled confidently, but did not notice Linger's suspicious eyes next to him. Kinger seemed very sure after the madam became unwell, Fengyu Tower lived an unusually comfortable life. Ambitious people continued to work hard, and those who loved to play slackers also relaxed. However, the good times did not last long. Yunxi suddenly received news that a madam asked her to work in the hall. The work here, of course, is not cleaning. She did not resist and went to the hall obediently. The hall was bustling at night, with singing and dancing girls performing on the stage, and guests sitting in the audience, some of them clapping along, some were drunk, and some did not know what to say to their friends, laughing wildly. Yunxi looked at the slowly rising experience value on the system panel, as refreshing as drinking ice cola in the summer. However, slacking off is not so easy. Little girl, come and serve the wine, a drunken guest suddenly waved. Chapter 147 Guests. Yunxi immediately stepped forward to pour wine for the guest, but the next second, he was suddenly grabbed by the arm. The guest was very drunk, laughing and trying to pull the person into his arms. Come and have a drink with me, the master. However, he pulled for a long time, but the little girl still stood there quietly, motionless. Guest? Strange. How can a little girl be so strong? He couldn't even pull her. However, due to the alcohol, his brain almost lost the ability to think. He shook his head, raised his head and was about to show a wicked smile, but found that the scene in front of him had changed. The words he was about to say were stuck in his mouth. He stared at this scene in a daze. Where is the little girl in front of him? There was only a wild ghost with green fangs floating, and he was not in the magnificently decorated hall, but somehow appeared in a cemetery. What was even more surprising was that he was holding the wild ghost's hand at this time. With a scream, the guest was frightened and his eyes turned wide, and he fainted. In the noisy hall, the scream that almost broke the roof rang out, and the guests around were startled and turned their heads to look. Originally, Yunxi was just pouring wine, but she didn't expect that the guest suddenly pulled her and wanted to drag her into his arms. Of course she didn't like it. She stood still and was about to fight back, when she suddenly saw the madam who was patrolling her territory. Tisk. Although the medicine she used would not be particularly uncomfortable, just the chills and dizziness were enough to make people uncomfortable. It was thanks to the madam that she was so strong that she came to the building with such a body. Yunxi found the prepared medicine powder from the space and raised it lightly. No one noticed this scene. The next second, the man who had been holding her suddenly screamed and then fainted. Seeing his appearance, the people around him immediately surrounded him. The madam also rushed over and asked someone to send the guest to the doctor, then turned to look at her and asked, "What's going on? How do you do things? Why did he suddenly faint?" Yunxi. She was also very strange. Okay. The powder she used only made people have slight hallucinations, and there would be no problem after tonight. How come this guy looked like he saw a ghost? He actually fainted. She didn't know that she almost got into trouble. I don't know what happened either. I just poured a glass of wine for this guest, and he suddenly fell down. Really? This really has nothing to do with her. She didn't give him a drug that would make people faint. The madam glared at her, and didn't want to ask any more questions. She quickly smiled and apologized to the people around her. After this incident, although everyone didn't know what happened, no one dared to provoke her anymore. Time passed day by day. When Yunxi was becoming more and more proficient in her work in the hall, the madam suddenly took her to the second floor. Of course, Yunxi did not get promoted. Her main job was to accompany the girls on the second floor, sitting by and pouring wine. The scenery in the private room on the second floor was very erotic. Yunxi sat outside, but couldn't help yawning. Even if she didn't listen carefully to the movement inside, she could hear the sound of the entire second floor. Do you know who I am, master? You are the most amazing person, haha, isn't that right? I am the cousin of the nephew of the second uncle's wife's sister-in-law's nephew of the servant next to the 9th prince. With the help of the prince, I will definitely be a big man in the future. Follow me, you won't suffer any loss. The fragrant curtains are blown by the wind, and the flowers enter the building. The high-pitched zither relieves the night's sorrow. The girls in Fengaiyu Tower are really beautiful and talented. You are too flattering, and I don't deserve such praise from you. I wonder if the girl can play music for me? I can't bear to miss such a scenery, and I want to let the fairy music blend into this beautiful scenery. I am willing. After the words fell, a piano piece sounded faintly. Yunxi was outside listening to the people talking inside and twitched her eyes. It was a good thing that the girls in Fengaiyu Tower had their own talents. Some were proficient in poetry, some were good at calligraphy and painting, and some were good at singing and dancing. They always had something to show off. If she went in and talked to people like this, she would be annoyed to death. She yawned drowsily, but suddenly heard a deliberately low voice. Is this Fengaiyu Tower? Is this the level? The voice was full of suppressed anger and disdain, and sounded a little sarcastic. Yunxi shuddered and woke up completely. What made her sober was not the meaning of the words, but this delicate voice. This is not a man's voice. Young master, please don't be angry. It's not worth it to ruin your health for such a person. This voice is also from a little girl, but it sounds much more stable. She seemed to pause. The future son-in-law came here. He must not like the women here. He just flirts with his colleagues. Humph. No, I must see what the woman who makes him come to see every day looks like. But, we don't know who the son-in-law is looking for here. The other person seemed to pause, and said for a long time, this is simple, just ask who is new. Brother didn't come here before, he came here in the past few days. Yunxi, who was listening with relish, paused, and inexplicably had a bad premonition. No way? She is the only newcomer in Fengaiyu Tower. What are the two people in the room thinking? How is it related to the newcomer? Could it be that the man just discovered Fengaiyu Tower recently? Things turned out to be just as she expected. Not long after, Yunxi was brought into the house by the fake men. Tell me, where is the person who often came to see you before, Yunxi? You may have misunderstood, there is no guest coming to see me, impossible. I heard it clearly, he just came here to look for the new girl. The lady slammed the table and glared at her angrily. Yunxi sat where she was, watching the girl glaring at her angrily. Are you the new one? The girl dressed as a man raised her eyebrows and sat upstairs with great momentum. Yes, sir, she smiled. I wonder what you want to see me for? If you are looking for a girl, I am not old enough. I can take you to the second floor. The two who were about to scold her were stunned. This. Have you really never seen a scholar? The young master frowned and said. Yunxi was stunned. This. There are many guests coming to our Fengaiyu Tower, and naturally there are many scholars. I wonder which one you are looking for. The person pretending to be a servant was about to say something, but was stopped by the young master. We are looking for a scholar with phoenix eyes, willow-shaped eyebrows, and gentle speech. He has a mole under his chin and another mole behind his right ear, the girl dressed as the young master said with gloomy eyebrows. She gestured to the maid beside her. Once you find him, please tell me the news. The maid took out a small piece of silver from her purse and gave it to her. We are staying in the inn at the end of this street. You just need to ask someone to find young master's song. If there is any news, you will not be deprived of benefits. Yunxi took the silver and smiled and said that she would pay attention. After leaving the room, She rolled her eyes and thought of a good idea. A few days later, the entire Fengyu Tower was privately spreading a message about a man with a mole on his chin. As long as they find this person, they can go to the servant kinger and share the reward for finding the person. For a moment, all the servants and barmaids in Fengyu Tower took action, carefully looking at the faces of those men, wishing to find someone who met this requirement immediately. After all, people at the bottom basically don't have many opportunities to get rewards, and the courtesans are not short of money, so they don't take this matter to heart and just listen to it. However, a few days later, a courtesan actually found this man. Thinking that since she had found him, it would be a waste not to take the reward, she asked her maid to find Yunxi. This man is not a patron of our Fengyu Tower at all, he is a guest of another building. No wonder he couldn't be found before. Yunxi was quite confused after hearing what the courtesan said. I never expected it. The girl who came here to catch an adulterer went to the wrong place. Chapter 148 Reward. The building that the man actually went to was called Zuayu Building, not Fengyu Building. As the most talented girl in the building, the Warren often had to go to other buildings to compete with others, or visit and learn from more powerful buildings. It was also thanks to the Warren who went to Zuayu Building this time, and she happened to hear about this matter, that she was able to discover this man. After Yunxi thanked him, he took a trip out after work, and after confirming that what the Warren said was true, he immediately found the young Master Song in the inn. After receiving the news, young Master Song immediately took people to Zuayu Building to wait, and soon caught the cheating man. Too much? You promised not to touch other women after you married into the family. Why did you betray the young lady? The man who was caught cheating turned pale for a moment, but soon he became righteous again. I haven't officially married into the family yet. You are so strict. I just came out to listen to some music, but you still have to control it. You are really not virtuous at all. Young Master Song's face sank. Since it is an agreed thing, you should do it. If you can't do it, don't agree. Who in the world can have only one woman? It's not that poor that you can't eat, the man sneered. He didn't believe that this woman dared to leave at all. Without him, what good man could she find? Yunxi hid in the dark, watching a group of thugs surrounding the man, and couldn't help shaking his head and not looking at him anymore. Back in the building, Yunxi divided the reward money with the courtesan in half. When she saw the reward money, the courtesan raised her eyebrows in surprise. So much? This reward money was considered good among the money she could get. You know, all the silver is for the madam, and only jewelry and gifts can be accepted. These jewelry are not worth much if they are sold. The courtesan said they were short of money, but the clothes and jewelry they wore were very expensive. They said they were not short of money, but they didn't have much silver. The reward she got now was equivalent to the money she got from selling a small box of jewelry. Thinking of this, she couldn't help laughing. Miss Kinger, if there is such a thing in the future, just tell me, I will do my best. Yunxi nodded, chatted with a courtesan for a few words, and left. However, after that, I don't know if it was introduced by Master Song or something else. Several more people dressed as men appeared in Fengyu Tower and asked for help to find someone. This day, another girl dressed as a man walked in. This girl may not be very skilled. Although she wore men's clothes and combed a man's hairstyle, she could tell at a glance that she was a girl. Yunxi saw her from a distance and was about to walk over, but suddenly found that a guest next to her noticed the girl's existence and walked over. Her eyes were fixed, and she wanted to go forward, but there were too many guests rushing in, and it was really difficult to squeeze through. The man dressed as a woman looked at the man who walked up to her, shrank his neck, and tried to raise his voice. What are you doing? Haha, there is actually a young lady coming to Fengyu Tower to play. Is it too lonely to be alone at home? Otherwise, I will accompany you, and you won't be lonely. The girl dressed as a woman had chubby cheeks and her big eyes were full of fear. She blinked away the tears in her eyes and deliberately pretended to be angry. Get out. You guys. However, for this group of men, the girl deliberately pretended to be fierce, which made her look even more lovely. The girl wanted to run away, but others also noticed her. Dozens of men surrounded her with evil smiles and forced their way towards the alley. She could only retreat. Yunxi's eyes turned cold, and while no one noticed her, she immediately slipped into the alley next door. The girl dressed as a woman looked at the pairs of dirty hands approaching her, and could not help but close her eyes, but suddenly she heard a few banging sounds. After waiting for a long time, no one touched her. The girl tentatively opened her eyes. In the dark alley, several men who had chased her fell to the ground, begging for mercy from time to time. They were not as evil and wanton as before. Looking at the girl who saved her, she blinked and looked over with bright eyes. "Sister, you are so awesome." Yunxi was a little helpless. The girls who came here before were also protected by others. This is the first time someone has come here by themselves. And this little girl doesn't look very old, about 15 or 16 years old. She is in the prime of youth. Not to mention how dangerous it is to come to Huaji at night. Even if she walks on the road in broad daylight, she needs someone to follow her. "Don't come here next time. It's too dangerous for you." The little girl breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, sister. I really have no other choice, so I want to come here to find a girl called Kinger." "Kinger? Kinger from Fengaiyu Tower? That's me." Yunxi was not surprised at all. "What do you want from me? 80% of them are here to catch an adulterer, right?" She has been taking such orders these days and has earned a lot of money. In comparison, pouring wine in Fengaiyu Tower is like a side job, and she has not received a penny so far. "Are you Kinger?" The little girl pinched her fingers and looked up at her carefully. Yunxi took her to a safe and deserted environment. The little girl relaxed. "I want to ask you to help me find where my father has gone." "Your father? It is really rare to catch your own father in adultery." But after the little girl finished speaking, she knew that this was not catching an adulterer, but a real search for someone. The little girl's parents grew up in the city since they were young. After getting married, they did not leave, but continued to stay here. One day, the girl's mother suddenly fell ill. The disease required a very strange medicinal material that glowed, but no one could find it after asking for a long time. Until one day, her father suddenly received a message that there was a courtesan here who had received a glowing medicinal material. Her father came to the street to look for her. Unfortunately, after this day, her father disappeared completely. The girl waited for a long time but her father did not come back, so she quickly asked someone to find out the news, but there was no clue at all. After listening to the news from the girl and knowing what her father looked like, Yunxi had a clue in her heart. "I will try my best to help you find him." She touched the girl's head. "Don't come here next time, it's very dangerous. Let's meet somewhere else next time." The girl nodded. But she was still scared after the girl left. Yunxi took advantage of the rest time to buy a house outside, with a shop in the front and a house in the back. It took Yunxi more than 10 days to simply decorate the shop and hang a sign outside the door, "Kinger Detective Agency." There is a mailbox at the door. Because Yunxi is often away, if anyone needs help, they just need to write down the request and deadline and drop the letter into the mailbox. After a while, Yunxi will go to collect the letters. The girls who come to Yunxi for help no longer need to go to Fengaiyu Tower. They can just drop a letter on the street. She sorted out the information on these letters and asked the girls in Fengaiyu Tower to help find someone. Don't underestimate these girls. The more they are in these low-class places, the more information they get, but they don't talk much about it. Of course, this matter was kept secret from the madam. Time passed day by day. Kinger Detective Agency is getting bigger and bigger. Whether it is the girls or the errand boys in Fengaiyu Tower, their income has increased greatly recently. But there was no news about the little girl's request to find her father. On the contrary, under Yunxi's treatment, the little girl's mother has woken up first. This day, as usual, Yunxi sorted out the information she got from the girls, but suddenly heard a bad news. The madam contacted the human traffickers. The girls who had just calmed down started to get nervous again. Yunxi was a little surprised. The madam hadn't recovered yet. She was so uncomfortable that she could come out to torment others. Thinking of Linger who had been crying in bed recently, she thought for a while and decided to cure the madam and give her the tea she had used before, the tea that had caused Jiu Yan to have a fever and a chill. Chapter 149 Talk. The effect of this tea is an upgraded version of the powder she used. I don't believe that the madam can still come out to cause trouble like this. Yunxi was very efficient. She sneaked into the madam's room that night, let her body recover completely, and then replaced the pot of tea. However, even though her speed was very fast and the madam was very uncomfortable, the human trafficker had already arrived at Fengaiyu Tower. Everyone was already here, and no matter how uncomfortable the madam was, she was too lazy to find someone again. She directly pulled out the girls who were going to be sold before and brought them to the man. The human trafficker glanced at the crying girls, frowned, and there was some dissatisfaction in his eyes. Are these the ones? Okay, I'll take them away." As he said that, he took out a dozen copper coins from his pocket and stuffed them into the madam's hand. Although the madam was going crazy with heat, she still held onto the wall tightly, endured the dizziness and said, "No, these copper coins are too little. There are some pretty girls among these girls, you have to give more." It is agreed that it is calculated by head. These girls can't be sold at a high price. Forget it if you sell more. The trafficker was also a little dissatisfied. The previous girls were not good looking, you can take them away, but these pretty ones are not priced the same. The madam gritted her teeth and insisted. If these pretty girls were not so bad at talking and always offended customers, she would not have sold them so easily. She spent a lot of money when she bought them. Selling a few copper coins is really a big loss. The madam and the trafficker quarreled, and the more they talked, the angrier they became. At the end, they suddenly started fighting. The crying little girls next to them were stunned when they saw this scene. "You damned fellow. It's fine if you buy those ordinary girls, but you want to buy these girls at the same price since they are so pretty. You are dreaming, you bitch. You agreed to sell these girls to me at the same price, but now you suddenly want to raise the price. You are courting death. I want to see where you can sell them to if I don't buy them. You are just a human trafficker, so arrogant. If I hadn't sold them to you, you probably wouldn't even be able to afford food. You old woman, you are so old, but you still dress so weirdly. Do you really think you are a fairy?" The two quarreled more and more fiercely, their eyes turned bloodshot, and they scratched each other until they bled, but they didn't stop. Seeing them fighting, scratching each other's hair and scratching their faces, the girls sniffed and stood there in a daze. Time passed little by little. The fight between the old procuress and the human trafficker finally ended. The madam had been feeling uncomfortable all the time. She couldn't hold her eyes open even if she tried hard. She fell to the ground in a few seconds. However, her body was not weak, and she was in better shape than Yunxi. Yunxi was thin and weak. He couldn't stand it after being tossed around. He rolled his eyes and fainted. Seeing the two of them falling to the ground with the wounds all over their bodies, the little girls widened their eyes and were a little at a loss for a moment. Linger mixed in the crowd with her head down. No one noticed the surprise in her eyes. When she was particularly scared today, Kinger told her calmly that she didn't need to be afraid and that she would be fine. But such a thing actually happened. The mother of Fengyu Tower had never quarreled so fiercely with Yunxi. Thinking of the last time Kinger also looked so sure that she would be fine, Linger pondered secretly. Could Kinger be the legendary hero? Did she sneak into Fengyu Tower just to investigate something? Just now, her mother and Yunxi suddenly fought. Did they use some strange medicine? Thinking of the storyteller's story, Linger's eyes suddenly became sparkling. At the same time, Yunxi squatted outside Fengyu Tower, paying attention to the surroundings at all times, ready to rescue the people as soon as the human traffickers left. However, after standing there stupidly for a long time, Linger and the others did not wait. She was full of questions, wondering if the information she had inquired was wrong. Could it be that the human traffickers were not coming today? She stood there for a while, and when she was about to look for someone, she saw Linger and the others coming over. Yunxi's eyes sharpened, and she was about to take action, but she found that there were no strangers among the girls. She looked carefully and noticed that the girls were actually carrying the madam and another man and were walking towards the backyard. When Linger saw her, she came over excitedly and lowered her voice. "Kinger. Thanks to you this time. If it weren't for your help, I'm afraid we would have been sold to the mountains." Yunxi? No. She hasn't done it yet? Did she do it in her dream? A few days later, when the madam and the human traffickers woke up, they were in a much better mood and began to discuss the girls again. Even Yunxi was impressed. The trafficker didn't do anything, but she got sick because of the depression and the quarrel, and the madam drank tea and felt hot and cold. Although the two of them were uncomfortable, they still insisted on selling the little girl. Of course, Yunxi couldn't let them do this. She went to the madam's room in person and prepared to talk to her. "Huh? You said to keep those girls?" The madam was shocked, dug her ears, and looked at her in disbelief. "Yes, Fengyu Tower is short of people. There are enough beautiful girls, but there is a shortage of people who serve tea and run errands. You can keep them and let them do these things," Yunxi persuaded her slowly. According to the conversation she heard between the madam and the trafficker, she knew that after these people were sold, they were basically sold to the deep mountains and old forests to be wives of people in their 40s or 50s. In many remote mountains, several men even marry one wife. Once sold to such a place, it is really impossible to come back. Ordinary people can't deal with tigers and wolves on the road. Yunxi asked the girls, but no one wanted to be sold to those places. She naturally wanted to stop the cooperation between the madam and the traffickers. Huh? You dead girl, you were just sold in, so I didn't sell you out. If you don't learn singing and dancing well in the future, don't blame me for selling you too, the madam sneered disdainfully, with sarcasm in her eyes. Instead of worrying about others, you might as well worry about yourself. Seeing that the madam ignored her at all, Yunxi felt helpless. She persuaded a few more words. The madam seemed to be annoyed and warned. If you keep whining, don't blame me for selling you now, Yunxi. Seeing her quiet down, the madam turned away and snorted coldly, if you don't accept my toast, you will be punished. Couldn't you have been so obedient earlier? You have to meddle in other people's business. Yunxi lowered her eyelids to hide the helplessness in her eyes. She didn't want to do it originally, why did you force her? She slowly raised her eyes and looked at the madam steadily. What are you looking at? You don't go to work but stand here, you want to be lazy, right? You, bang, Yunxi punched the wooden table at the head of the bed, and the table broke into pieces. The madam was startled, and the words she wanted to say were stuck in her throat. She looked at the broken wooden table in shock, and then at the delicate Yunxi, and doubted her life. What are you looking at? Is it strange? I have been strong since I was a child. Yunxi looked at the madam with a smile. Have you never seen a girl who can split you in half? There are also girls with great strength. The madam shrank back, trying not to wipe the cold sweat, and shuddered. Yunxi approached her calmly. So? Do you still want to sell those girls now, you? Of course I will, the madam gritted her teeth. Yunxi approached the madam expressionlessly. Because she walked hard, cracks radiated outward from the soles of her feet on the floor paved with gold and jade. The whole house seemed to be shaking. No more selling. No more selling. The madam was so scared that her heart tightened and she forced a laugh. That's good, I don't want to see anyone being sold again, unless they are willing. Yes, good, the madam nodded repeatedly and showed a flattering smile. Just as Yunxi was standing by the bed, the sound of breaking wind came, accompanied by a fierce murderous aura. She raised her hand carelessly and easily blocked the dagger attacking her. What? Auntie, Yunxi paused, were you lying to me just now? Chapter 150 The Madam's Son. The madam was shocked. She could not help but feel a little scared when she felt the force on her wrist. Just now, she thought that this girl was just strong. She would definitely not be able to fight against real swords and guns. Who knew? Her heart instantly became nervous and uneasy. No. Girl, I was just joking. Yes. Just a joke. The madam rolled her eyes and reluctantly found an excuse. Oh, Yunxi snatched the dagger and fiddled with it lazily, watching the dagger flashing faintly under the candlelight. She smiled lightly and a silver light flashed. The madam hadn't seen the other parties move yet. When she came to her senses, a strand of hair on her forehead had fallen down. Thinking of how her head was almost cut off just now, she was so scared that sweat instantly soaked her back. She didn't dare to make trouble anymore. She was so scared that she begged for mercy again and again. Hero, spare my life. I will treat the girls well. Don't worry, I promise not to hurt them, and I won't sell them for money. The madam's face turned pale with fear, but she hated it in her heart. She didn't dare to hate Yunxi, but she hated the men who sold Yunxi to her. She originally thought that she bought a cash cow. Who knows if it is a cash cow or not, but it must be a female bandit. These damn guys. They actually sold such a horrible woman to her. They should not be caught by her. Otherwise, she will definitely make these people look bad. Yunxi raised her eyebrows. Are you sure you will treat us poor little ones well in the future? The madam smiled. Yes, still poor little ones. Who is poor? Yunxi, I have worked for so long before, why didn't I see the monthly salary? Don't other girls have it either, madam? There will be. I forgot to give it before, sorry. The girls in Fengyu Tower suddenly found that the madam had changed. For the girls of the Warin and the second rank, the madam's concern was superficial, but it was not the case at all. Before, and Warin had collected enough silver to redeem herself, and the originally agreed 10,000 taels of silver became 10,000 taels of gold. How can an ordinary person come up with so much silver? Even a prince may not be able to come up with this much money so easily. Ever since the incident with the courtesan, everyone knew that the so-called redemption was just talk. If you want to leave Fengyu Tower, you must find a powerful person that Fengyu Tower cannot afford to offend, and he must be willing to spend a large sum of money to take you away. Only in this way can you really leave. As for the low-level girls, they are afraid of being sold by the madam. But this time, after the madam woke up, she suddenly gave up the idea of selling the girls, and even paid a monthly salary to the people below. This is incredible. Everyone didn't know what the madam was up to, and they were all a little scared. But as time went by, the madam didn't make things difficult for them. The girls were relieved. Fengyu Tower, in a room. Why do you think Mom has become so nice? Has something good happened recently? Maybe Mom has a change of heart, so she is nice to us? Mom is so nice to us, I am even more reluctant to leave here. Girl, what do you think? A little girl turned her head to look at the charming woman in front of the dressing table. The other little girls also stopped talking and looked at her. Humph. Only you little girls would think so. Mom has been working in Fengyu Tower for so many years and has never had a change of heart. How could she suddenly change? Something must have happened in the meantime. Maybe someone threatened her, the charming woman snorted. The other little girls were all shocked and gasped. Mom is the most powerful person in Fengyu Tower. Who can threaten her? The woman raised her eyes and gently raised her charming red lips. For so long, no one can change Mom's mind. She suddenly changed now. What do you think? What is the name of the new girl who came recently? Girl, are you talking about Kinger? Several girls looked at each other, their eyes full of disbelief. However, in other rooms, similar statements kept coming out. Yunxi walked through the corridor and heard many people mention her name, guessing what she had done. She couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. It seems that the girls in Fengyu Tower are smarter than she thought. She is becoming more and more confident in her detective agency. Today's dishes are almond Buddha's hand, lotus leaf soup, crystal winter melon dumplings, dongpo elbow, and monk fruit 8 treasure soup. The cook Bao Shifu brought today's dishes to the table, lowered her head, and looked as if she didn't know Yunxi at all, and slowly retreated. Mom, enjoy. Yunxi stared at the dishes on the table, pursed her lips and smiled. Auntie, then I won't be polite. Anyway, she had been exposed, so she naturally didn't want to pretend anymore, and simply picked up her chopsticks. The madam laughed dryly. If you like these dishes, just eat them. How dare she say no? She didn't want to be beaten. Unfortunately, although the ingredients are expensive, the final product is very ordinary. Master Bao used to cook big pot dishes, and now she is asked to cook such delicate dishes, which is really a bit unaccustomed. Dongpo pork elbow is the best, and dim sum is the worst. Yunxi tasted the dishes and gradually had an idea in her mind. She planned to recruit a few more chefs, including some chefs from various places. There are so many people in Fengyu Tower, she can't eat all the delicacies by herself, and let Linger and others eat coarse food every day, right? The madam didn't know what she was thinking, and a gleam of light flashed in her drooping eyes. At this moment, a man in a long robe suddenly kicked the door open and rushed in. Master, please slow down. Don't hurt your feet. A man behind him bent over and looked at him nervously. Yunxi raised his eyebrows. Someone dared to break into the madam's house? The madam has the final say in Fengyu Tower. This person who can easily rush in is someone related to the madam. She casually glanced at the madam's face, and found that her whole face was wrinkled, and her eyes flashed with various complex emotions such as surprise, panic, worry, and anger. Yunxi lowered her eyes. The madam glanced at her furtively, then glared at the man who rushed in, and then scolded the people guarding outside the door. Are you all freeloaders? You let people break into my room at will. Don't you know to stop them? The people guarding outside the door secretly groaned. But, didn't you say that the young master can come in at any time? Shut up. The madam's face turned pale, and she hurriedly interrupted the doorkeeper's words. Why don't you pull the man out? Yunxi's eyes flashed, and she smiled and stopped him. Hey, Auntie. Why are you so anxious? It seems that everyone knows this young master. Why don't you invite him in? The young master then noticed Yunxi's existence and moved his eyes away from the table. Who are you? You come to my mother. The man called. The young master frowned, but when Yunxi looked up and saw her delicate eyebrows, the words he wanted to say were stuck in his throat, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. Are you a new girl? He smiled and approached Yunxi. I didn't expect that such a beautiful girl would come to our building. Don't be afraid, I won't let you receive guests, just follow me from now on. The madam was so scared that her face turned pale, and she wanted to stuff this kid back into her stomach immediately. It was all her fault that she spoiled this kid too much, spoiling him so much that he didn't know how high the sky was. Is this woman someone he can afford to offend? Thinking that her son would be embarrassed by this woman, the madam slammed the table and stopped her son, who was approaching Yunxi. You little bastard. What nonsense are you talking about? Get out of here, Mom, what are you doing? This girl is so pretty, just let her follow me. Aren't there other girls in the building anyway? The young master was stopped by his mother, and suddenly became impatient and wanted to push her away. However, the madam stopped him tightly. What a joke. Now that she is here, this kid will not be beaten. If your son's hand really touches that crazy woman, her son's life may or may not be saved. Shut up. I usually ask you to study, but you study like this, the madam shouted coldly, pulled her son to the other side away from Yunxi, and pressed him on the stool with all her strength. Eat first. Mom will talk to you later. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.